Snowy, before I get into this panel, I just need you to know that you smell like beef. In this panel, you're gonna learn some things about me, so have fun with that. 2 more hours to go. Oh, at work? Is that when you get off of work? Okay, sounds good. Have fun at work. Yeah, I'm in a call, but we are you don't have you have ads because you're not subscribed, Snowy. Yeah, I'm in a call. Everybody's just yapping to their chat at the moment, and then we're gonna get into the panel. There you go, Snowy. Thank you for the sub. Thank you for the sub. Mwah. But yeah, you had ads because you let your sub expire, sir. So everybody get your daily vibe check. Thanks. Get those numbers up. Oh, I'm 50% of the way to completing my sub goal. Nice. But yes, chat, you have to behave yourself today. Be good noodles. You're gonna learn some things about me that you might not know already. And you gotta behave. You gotta be nice. We're with strangers right now. Be on your best behavior. Don't be little gremlins. Save that for when I'm streaming by myself. You can be little gremlins all you want when I'm streaming by myself. Also, I'm so nervous about this, and I'm already so tired. This is gonna be an adventure. My mom told me not to talk to strangers. Okay. Yeah, okay, buddy. We're friends because you talked to strangers. Be so for real right now. Also, chat being so disjointed because everybody's talking to their own streams is very funny. Also, I just need you to know that one of the girls has a cat on her lap, and all I see is an orange cat tail sticking up. And now I want my cat to come in here, but he won't do that because he don't fuck with me. He only comes in randomly when I'm not expecting it. I also don't know how long we're gonna be in just chatting mode, so this is gonna be an adventure. But Holly on the shared chat list, Holly Dolly, she has front page. She's gonna be on the front page, which means we're gonna be on the front page, which means you guys really gotta behave. Be on your best behavior. What do you mean an ASMR stream? It's the same as it always is. Is it, are you saying because I don't have music on in the background? Like my mic is the same as it always is. Does it sound weird? In fact, I'm not even that close to my mic. What the heck? It does tad. What the heck? I don't know why. Let me try turning it down a little bit and see if that helps. How about now? How does it sound now? Is it better? Is it okay? Oh, I gotta tell them that I'm ready. It sounds like it's suppressing your voice, so to speak. That's weird. I don't know why. The settings are the same. I'll try to turn voice suppression down, or noise suppression.
Hello?
I can't even speak. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. My
Okay,
stream
so
can hear
everybody's
you.
ready. Yay! Everybody's ready.
Yay! Okay, we ready? Is
I
that
believe
what's
so.
happening?
Yeah, we're ready. No worries. Um, so Birch is going to do a shared chat event in a minute. So
Okay.
everybody's chat will merge, and you can all introduce each other and say hello in chats. And then in the meantime, we can introduce ourselves to
Mhm.
you if you don't know us. Um, I probably don't know many of your communities, so let me move that there. So if anybody doesn't know me, I'm Holly. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a Brit. I'm the token Brit. And I stream cozy games. I play Animal Crossing, Pokopia, and Palia. Also addicted to World of Warcraft off stream. So that's a bit about me. I'm also autistic and I have ADHD. Should we go round to Marjorie?
Sure. We can sure. Hi everyone. I'm Creative Desires. You can call me Creative, Marjorie, or Marge. I answer honestly to all three. Whatever's the easiest for you, I'm good with. I am a variety streamer. I play things ranging from MMOs to co-op to RPGs to cozy games like Holly with Palia and like Stardew and Fields of Mystria, which everyone knows I'm very much addicted to Fields of Mystria. I have invisible illness. I have psoriasis and fibromyalgia. There's still a couple other things we're trying to figure out as well there,
Mhm.
but we're getting there. I also, because of the psoriasis, have psoriatic arthritis and
Mhm.
chronic pain. There's
Mhm.
everything. We'll get into it more as we get into the discussion, but those are kind of like the main things.
Mhm.
I'm gonna popcorn it over to Amber.
Hi, everybody. I'm Analog Amber. I'm a variety streamer here on Twitch and also a charity streamer here on Twitch. We just got done fundraising for 1,000 Dreams Fund and will be streaming for the Lupus Foundation of America, speaking of disabilities, invisible illnesses, in May. Um, I play a lot of simulation games, so RimWorld, and I also love story games. We just finished South of Midnight. I have ADHD. I also have generalized anxiety disorder and depression. I also have complex PTSD. I am going to popcorn over to Aaron.
All right. Hi, I am Erin Clements. You can call me Erin. I'm a variety streamer that plays literally any game chat asks me to, but my kind of brand is that I play a lot of shooters and I'm not good at them. So games like Fortnite and Valorant. But I also love a good story game. My favorite game of all time is Tell Me Why, which was made by the creators of Life is Strange, which is a queer story that is about grief and about family and is just incredible and beautiful. And it is free every month for Pride Month. So worth it. Um and I have cerebral palsy, I have anxiety, depression, OCD, autism, and ADHD, so kind of a veritable grab bag of everything going on there. I also have chronic pain and chronic fatigue. So lots of things going on there. And I will popcorn it over to Birchie.
Hi, I'm Bochi. I am hard of hearing. I also have OCD, generalized anxiety, depression, PTSD, and chronic pain. No idea what kind of. No, not diagnosed, but I'm always in pain.
Right.
Yeah. So I am a variety streamer as well. I do a lot of horror games. I am currently doing Resident Evil 9 and I am loving it. I scream a lot. I'm very loud. I can't hear myself most of the time, so I can't tell how loud I am. But yeah, that's me. And it's time for Sleepy Beauty.
Oh God. Avoid. But hi, I'm Ellie of Sleepy Beauty. I play basically anything and everything. I say if I'm willing to have a friend to teach me, I will play it. So I will play like cozy games like Animal Crossing, Aparia, to like Marvel, Fortnite, Valorant. And I have chronic pain and chronic fatigue. Undiagnosed, but I had it for like over 10 years. I don't think I could say I don't have it. I also have ADHD. I have auditory processing, apraxia, and a few others. Yeah, definitely nervous. Clearly have anxiety. Yeah, hi.
We're a big mix, aren't we?
Yeah,
So if you
just
hadn't
admits.
worked out today, we are part of the Twitch Women's Guild, and we are talking about disabilities today, and we are women, identifying as women. So there's multiple Just Chatting category panels today that you will see across it. So we've had business, mental health, activism, mom life, gaming, leadership, STEM, and we're doing the disabilities one. And if none of you are aware what the Twitch Unity Women's Guild is, it's a program for networking, development, and celebration that includes funding, branding, and dedicated Discord space. It's run fully by the community, including people like myself and Amber and Birchie and a couple of the guildies who are mentors. And it's sponsored and funded by Twitch. The main goal of the Twitch Women's Guild is to provide resources and a space for discussion for creators of marginalised genders, as well as to bring them greater visibility for doing what they love on Twitch, like this today. We are very passionate people, and we all signed up to be part of a panel, and we are talking about disabilities today. So, sort of on the cards for the sort of intro, we were going to talk about maybe about invisible versus visible, well, not versus, and because there's no competition between the both. So for me, I'm autistic. I'm going down the route of going after an Ehlers-Danlos syndrome diagnosis as well, because I also have ADHD, but I haven't quite got there with all of that. But in terms of being autistic, I actually touched on this with the panel before we started streaming, that I was worried that I wasn't the right person to be here, but I am disabled, I am autistic, and I deserve space also here today. So I sort of having to tell myself a little bit of that. So yeah, that's my invisible disability, and I wear a sunflower lanyard wherever I go, whenever I travel. And honestly, it's so amazing how visible and invisible disabilities are now being recognised, specifically for me in the UK, across airports and trains, which are my main. I go on a train every week, and I'm looked after by public services. Would anybody else like to add?
It's actually good that you bring that up because in the US, we don't have anything like that when it comes to like the lanyard and stuff. I think the most we have is like if for airports, maybe I think is people will wear the sunflower lanyard here, maybe, but I don't, in terms of public transit, I don't really think that's a thing as much as it is over in the UK and in Europe, especially. I also know, like, over in Asia, they have some stuff too, but for us, it's not as a widely recognized symbol as it is for you over there in the UK, Holly.
I didn't know it was a
Yeah.
thing, so thank you for letting us know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
there's also another thing, like, for people who might have Crohn's disease, they have in the UK, they have a specialized thing they can also have. So that way, even if the bathrooms say they're not public over there,
Yes.
because of that, they can be able to use the bathrooms that aren't public as well, which is really good. So
I have a
I guess
key. I have a universal key.
yeah, I guess I'll still be since I've been chatting. As I said, I have more invisible. The only time it really is physical for me for being visible is when my chronic pain is so bad that I have to use the handicap parking spot at stores. For the most part, I'm able to get out and walk a distance. Now, if I've been running, say, because I do daily walks to help with my arthritis, but also for my overall mental health too. So say I go from that to running 5+ errands, I might not have the spoons to actually park further back like I usually do and walk as well. Um,
Can I
yes,
interrupt
Amber.
you? Marjorie, can you just explain to people in chat who don't know what spoon theory
Yes,
is? Can you
yes.
explain spoon theory?
Actually,
Oh, thank
actually,
you. Yes,
I
I
have a
do.
handy dandy.
Oh, weird. It's like I knew.
It's not I actually have it as a command. Spoon theory is a metaphor describing the amount of physical or mental energy that a person has available for daily activities and tasks and how it can become limited. So for me, to give an example, say maybe I wake up one day and I know I only have 5 spoons. So I have to figure out what I'm going to do. Shower, it takes 1 spoon away. Maybe getting ready for the day takes one away. So that leaves me with 3 spoons. And that's 3 things I got to figure out what I want to be able to do, which, okay, I do my daily walks. Now I'm left with 2 spoons. So now I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with those 2 spoons? Say I end up having to go deal with an emergency situation. That's all my spoons done away for the day. I often honestly say I am running in negative spoons because for the most part, I am for the most part, honestly. So I find ways to replenish my spoons. So hopefully, maybe I'll have 6 spoons for the next day. Yes, battery is also another good way of explaining too and having
Or
that as
yeah.
well.
For
Yeah,
TTRPG nerds, spell slots is a very good one.
yeah.
I love
So
that.
for me, because I kind of have you can see it visibly in me, but also invisibly with my stuff. My left side is my weakest side of my body. That's actually how I noticed something was wrong. I was having twitching happening in my hands, and I had to do nerve testing and stuff. So that was really fun. But yeah, I have a combination of, I would say, invisible, but also visible. And mostly visible is when you see me have my cane out at conventions or even daily life to be able to get around and stuff. I will, if anyone else wants to pop in.
I was going to
Oh,
say for
Marjorie, you're
me.
muted on your
Oh,
stream. Marjorie. Thanks,
Uh-oh.
Jen.
oh.
Okay.
Early
Well,
than never, right?
lovely.
I hate to laugh, but that's a very like not only streamer, but I feel like ADHD streamer thing to have done.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it
Yeah.
today.
Oh gosh, now
Thanks,
me look at
Jen.
mine now.
I have mine open so I could see the
levels.
volume and all that. Yeah. But I was going to say for me, with my chronic pain and like my ADHD, I would say with my visible disability is when I have like those fillers and I have like my knee braces, ankle braces, like TwitchCon when I went. I literally had to sit down to put them on because I was like, I'm in pain. Or I had some friends that allowed me to lean on them because I was like, I can't. While my ADHD, if it's like I'm able to mask, you wouldn't know. And then when I go, ooh shiny, oh okay, yep, that's when it becomes visible.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, having both physical and invisible disabilities, being able to mask in certain situations for safety is kind of a pro of being able to mask, if you will. But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to visible and physical disabilities, you don't have that option. It's just
Mhm.
not an option that's available to you. So, kind of threading that metaphorical needle of finding that balance
Mhm.
of when to talk about it and when to try to hide it versus just kind of own it
Mm-hmm.
is definitely
Mhm.
a hard thing to handle.
Yeah, and
Unmasking really is hard to
yeah, and
do.
just to pop in really quick, just because I know that we all know what we're talking about, but I want any friends that maybe are like, "Hey, you all have disabilities and I don't know what you mean." So masking is something that our neurodivergent friends do, and friends often with invisible illnesses do. Which is an act of like suppressing or concealing your disability or your neurodivergency in order to fit in better in your surroundings. So literally like wearing a mask to cover up who you are.
Yeah, like my biggest thing, I don't one of my stuff I had people ask me to repeat my stuff, so I'll do that after I do this a little bit, if that's okay. Since we
Yeah,
discovered my stuff was
for sure.
muted.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I
Yeah.
have I
Yeah.
have OCD. I mask it very, very, very
Mhm.
well. The times you notice it is probably when I'm really mentally and physically exhausted is when that
Mhm.
a lot of stuff shows. To give example, I was talking with some of my friends. One of the things I tend to do before I even start driving is I sit in my driveway or anywhere I've been at for 5 minutes before I start driving off. Has to be exactly 5 minutes, and then I'll start driving. Has that probably prevented me from getting in some of the major accidents in my city? Oh yeah, probably. But it's something that for me I have to do every time I drive. Along with like I'm a big stickler for time, being on time. I will have a meltdown if it's like a huge event and I'm not on time and stuff. To go back to
Just
what I was saying before we continue on, um, so spoon theory for anyone who doesn't know, I don't know if it will humor spoons. Let me do. I have that as and anyone can copy that for their streams if they want. I don't mind sharing my commands to everyone to have. So for me, when I do exclamation point spoons, it says spoon theory is a metaphor describing the amount of physical or mental energy that a person available for daily activities and tasks and how it can become limited. Because my she was able to hear, for example, I have 5 spoons a day. Getting up, showering, going for my walk that's 2 away. Okay, well, I have something to do. Okay, so I'll do that. Now I'm left with 2. If I have an emergency, that will take those remaining 2 away from me. And as I said, a lot of times I'm running on negative spoons, so I have to find ways to get my spoons back a lot of the time.
Mhm. And you may not have the same amount of spoons when you wake up each day. And another part of it is the same task is not going to cost the same amount of spoons every day. So getting up, eating breakfast, and going to work may cost me 1 spoon one day and then all of my spoons another day. Just depending on how, have you slept well? Did you sleep correctly? Did you,
Mhm.
did you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G yesterday? It's not
It's not a one
it's
and
not
done
something that you
deal.
can predict. Yeah, it's not something you can
Mhm.
predict. And so it can be difficult to know
Yes, definitely
what it's going to be like.
fluctuates. Forks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and is okay to add to that, Amber, is burnout and autistic burnout. It's kind of leaning
Mhm.
into the next sort of section of our panel is energy management and autistic burnout
Mm-hmm.
with streaming and content creation. So I actually had an autistic burnout last week.
Mhm.
As I've clearly stated, I've put my foot to the metal recently. I'm currently
Mhm.
trying to get partner on Twitch, and it is a lot. And as someone who is autistic, I think and anybody who's neurodivergent, I think it's much harder because I want to do everything at
Mhm.
once. And going back to the spoon theory, I have absolutely spent my spoons, and they're
Mhm.
negative at the moment. I also work full time. I didn't mention that earlier. I work full time. I do 9 till 5, Monday to
Mhm.
Friday, and then I stream 3 or 4 times a week or however many times I've streamed this week. 'Cause it's been quite a few times this weekend. So for me, how I manage my burnout is I take time away. So I've actually posted
Mhm.
something on Instagram recently in which a lot of people have reached out to me that they resonate with, and it's 5
Mhm.
check-ins. So you sort of do a body
Oh,
check, you do a mental check, you do
Mhm.
is if I'm streaming right now, what will I bring to my community? They're not going to want to see me run myself ragged. They're going to want me to be well, and then next time I appear to them, I'm going to be able to give them something. And I know that my community aren't there to subscribe me and be like, oh, I've paid for this. Like they're not like that. But for me, I
Mhm.
know that people subscribe to me and they want to support me and see me do well. So here's my question. Maybe I'll start with you, Berchie. If you set if in terms of energy management or burnout, how would you manage it?
Oh gosh. I'm not very well at managing my burnout. My community is they know. I tend to cancel streams more often than I
Mhm.
stream these days. Because I do get like, chronic headaches, and I also work
Mhm.
a full-time job, and I just at the end of the day, I am drained, and it's tough, especially having disabilities and trying to, I guess, because I'll mask at work too, right? Like
Mhm.
I'll pretend I'm in a great mood, I'm doing great, but then when I get off meetings and stuff, I'm just like I slump into my chair and I'm like I'm ready for a nap. Um,
I feel that.
s- so I would love to hear who is good at time management. My thing is I just kind of I ask myself questions like, am I going to have fun tonight? Um, because obviously
Mhm.
if I'm not having fun, my community's not going to have fun on stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I know I can't put on a face and do stuff, then I just cancel. And they're like, okay, we get
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, and I think one of the big things I've learned is having patience with myself, because I used to
Mhm.
get so mad at myself and get so like disappointed and feel bad for having to cancel so much, but you gotta have patience with yourself, and
Mhm.
you gotta take care of yourself. That's the biggest thing.
Mhm.
So
100%. Yeah.
yeah, my time management and my dealing with it and burnout, I don't know how to do it. So if y'all do and someone wants to give me some tips, please do, because I'm still
I
working on
mean,
it.
I I actually I think most of my community, and then also y'all have seen how I pulled back socially after TwitchCon last
Mhm.
year. And I had
Mhm.
to take 5 months off basically because I went from um uh, emergency happening with my mom and her having a life-saving surgery and becoming a full-time caretaker to still trying to do content and everything. I hit burnout right after TwitchCon, and I had to take 5 months off. There was no answer or ifs, buts. I had to do it for my mental health and physical health,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just now getting back. Because I'm like you, Berchie. I sometimes it's so hard managing time and like wanting to do
Mhm.
everything.
Absolutely. And then having OCD on top of that and having structure. I am someone, I need to have structure. I need to write things down. I write down like my day,
The list.
everything I do. Yeah, oh god. That's how I got diagnosed with OCD. Was all of my lists I make, and the fact that I have like 50 notepads for different things.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah. But then,
I
you start
use
going through it and sometimes you just can't finish it.
just a quick one before everyone else sort of adds in. Just something I use for work is, and it won't work for everyone. It's a prioritization matrix. So it's like urgent, important, not
Mhm.
urgent, not important. And I've only recently started doing that for my in real life job. And gosh, it's made a difference because I was adding things to my list that I didn't need to do. They were like, oh, like people pleasing part of my brain was like, oh yeah, I can do that for that so, and that they're going to really appreciate that. Actually looking at it, I'm like, yeah, they'll appreciate it, but they don't care if I don't do it. That's part of my
Mhm.
how I don't burn out alongside creation content creation. I probably need to do more of that matrix in terms of content creation because I definitely do it for my full-time job.
I think
Ellie, were you
setting
gonna add
boundaries is
something?
good.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
was gonna.
boundaries is good.
Huh? What? I was
Sorry, I've
gonna
just
say, I wish I could have like lists and like to-do lists because me having ADHD, I will like write it. I had a planner, not once use it. Like I literally still have it. unwritten. I have like I bought this like cute pad with like to-do lists, brain dump reminders. I was like, okay, maybe this is the thing that's going to help me. It's not. There's been like times I would do it. I love it. But
You
I
got Aaron.
So relatable. The amount of I've heard it called the ADHD tax for things that either your ADHD prevents you from using or something you've bought for your ADHD that you don't end up using. So
yeah.
planners, apps, subscriptions.
Oh God.
I relate so much to that. I relate so much
Yeah.
to that, and I can't get a
I was about
bird
to.
to tell me what to do. I can't get like
Oh, Finch.
a piece.
Lists. Everywhere
I
lists.
can't gamify. I don't care about the stupid bird in my.
I love Finch. I love Finch so much.
I
Finch
love
keeps me
Finch
on
so much.
track.
Oh
I
Finch
God.
works with my
also
brain
There's
so
other
well.
task apps available.
does
Yeah.
anyone else
Yeah.
also have like when it comes to like actual like notebooks? I'm super specific about the quality of paper and what pens I
Mm-hmm.
use.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to use
I'm
Same.
specific
grid
about.
paper.
Yes. Yes.
I have
Yes.
to use grid paper.
I have to use a
Oh
specific
my.
kind of gel pen that doesn't smear, or I get angry. If it doesn't glide, I don't
I
like it.
Yeah.
so
Yes,
I
and my
have
I
Pen
I
is
have
like
like
important.
like
fake
Dinique
moleskins.
is like one of my favorite brands to use because their paper quality, chef's kiss. And whenever I have a rule when it comes to getting books now, especially because I don't have the space. But like, if I like the paper texture, I immediately tell the author now. I'm like, I love whatever your publisher and you decide to go with paper. It feels so good. It like is hitting that sweet spot for me. Because I also one thing I really like is Japanese brands for their pens and paper quality in notebooks because it's just chef's kiss for me.
See, I insane. I just don't buy it because I know I won't use it now.
See, I'm a problem because I buy them and make plans to use them, and God only knows if I ever actually will.
Oh gosh,
Uh,
yeah. Well, and I
Raise your
do
hand
think
if you have plans to use something that you in your immediate vicinity that you haven't used.
Oh, me.
Yeah,
I raised
yeah.
my
All
hand.
the time.
You can
All the
see
time.
it.
I also I like decorating my Kindle. And now that I'm like, because I used to have this aversion of like always getting stickers but not wanting to use them. So I don't take the backing off. I just decorate the back of my Kindle like without sticking them through. So that way, so I'm like, I want to save this. It's cute. I
I
don't
do
want to
the
like
same
have it
thing.
get ruined. Only thing that has
I
stickers that say on are the water bottles.
For the ones that don't make it to my water bottle or my Kindle, I get a sticker book and put them in the sticker book because you
I've
can
thought about
repeal them
that.
out of it. Because
I
they
think I was
they
so
make
ready to be like,
they
I
make
have a
sticker books
drawer.
that you can repeal them out of, so you could like
yes,
yeah, exactly.
that's amazing.
Oh, I have on
So
my
I
it
thought
kind of
about
to-do
leads
it.
me
list.
on to the next part is sensory issues, I think, because I think this is tapping into sensory. We all sort of like stickers and stationery. So I've certainly noticed with gaming equipment as a small 5'2" woman, a lot of gaming equipment is designed around men
Mm-hmm.
and able people. So
Yep.
I have neck pain all the time because I just can't find that work where a desk and a chair and a camera and a screen are at the right height for me because I'm small. And obviously I don't have a physical disability, so I'm curious to hear about if anybody that does. How are you? How what equipment do you use, Betchy?
Uh, Hearing equipment is the biggest pain for me. I can't tell you how many headsets I've gone through, and I have my computer audio is at 100% all the time. Um, and then I have to usually, so I use a Go XLR now. But I used to get headsets that had audio in them, and it wouldn't matter how loud I'd make them, they would never be loud enough for me. And as someone who's hard of hearing, like my
Mm-hmm.
husband cannot touch my hearing equipment because it'll blow out his eardrums. It's so loud. But trying to find something that's one comfortable around your ears and something that will get loud enough for someone like me is very, very difficult. So I started doing in the ear ones, and these are like wonderful. That's all I got. What's up,
I have a
Ollie?
question, Bertie. So, with the people who I've met in my life in England who are hard of hearing, they have hearing aids or cochlear implants. And if they go to certain places, they obviously have I don't know how it works, like a signal where they can connect to certain devices like microphones and stuff where they can hear things. Does that software not work, like exist with a PC setup?
So I have a pair of hearing aids. They are a little older. I had to get a special device, and I can hook it up to my Go XLR, and it kind of works, but it doesn't connect well with the XLR. It will connect if I put it to my computer. The only problem with that is if I hook it up to my computer, I can't adjust all the noises the same way, so I don't use it
Mhm.
because it will make all of my audio the same level, and when I stream, everything's on the same level. So I'm not able to do that, which is very frustrating because if I could just take my
Mhm.
hearing aids and
Mm.
walk into the room and be able to just connect them that way, that would be amazing. But then again, my hearing aids are like 5 years old, so the software is outdated. So I don't know. There might be something better now. I just don't happen to have it.
And I bet it's really expensive as well.
Oh,
Mhm.
It should be.
$24,000 for 2 hearing aids.
Oh
My
Jesus.
goodness, that's
Wow.
disgusting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how much they were. They was $24,000 for both. Um, Unfortunately, I had insurance to cover it, but
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of
Mhm.
people
That's
do.
obviously the difference in the UK. We have difference in the UK is obviously we have the National Health Service, so somebody that is hard of hearing wouldn't have to pay that amount, which is just
Yeah.
baffles me the
Mhm.
difference in that.
Yep.
Anybody else would like to talk about gaming equipment and disability that affects them?
Yeah, I can go
Yeah.
ahead.
So
I
Yeah. We're all
Oh,
like, yeah, we can talk about
yeah. So much.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, someone go first, not me. I've been yapping.
okay,
Okay.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So somebody asked in chat, like, and they had a similar issue that I did. I can't wear over the ear headphones because with my glasses and the headphones, I get really bad
Mhm.
headaches. And it feels like my head is squeezing, even though it's not, and I can't stand it. And I have the same problem with like regular earbuds, which I have a pair of those as well, but I have to constantly like push it back into my ear because my ears are weird. So I have these headphones that go into your ear, but also over and around your ear so that they don't fall out. These ones in particular are wireless because that is sometimes a sensory issue for me too, is that having the wires in my space is really uncomfortable, I guess is the only word. If sometimes I don't know if you all feel like this too, friends who have sensory issues, but sometimes it's really hard to describe what the sensory issue feels like
Mhm.
if you don't know.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking about how to describe like having the dangling cord on my earphones, and it just feels disgusting. That's the only way I think of to
No,
describe it. It
I
feels awful.
literally I keep
Mhm.
my
It's
charging cord
infuriating.
right here. I'll charge as long as I can stand it, and after that, I throw it over the side.
Hmm. Yeah.
For me, I
But yeah,
also have issues with my headphones, and I was super lucky
mhm,
to find these because I also have the same problems with my glasses. It feels like it's squeezing my head, but these
mhm.
luckily don't, and they weren't that expensive either, and are still high fidelity. And I was like, yes, this is perfect. I'm only ever buying these headphones again.
Yeah, I feel that
Mhm,
way with mine. I actually they fit just right. These are HyperX. I need to get a new set, honestly, because
mhm,
they're like 5+ years old, and I know
mhm,
HyperX has gotten better with their quality.
mhm,
But I'm just like, the cost, because that's one thing that like really does suck when you're disabled is the cost of things
Mhm.
too
Mhm.
when it comes to gaming equipment, especially, or even just stream equipment to make it
Mhm.
easier on yourself for being a creator and stuff, is the cost of things. And of course it's gone
mhm,
up over the years too.
Yeah.
Because like I you know, one of my big issues is too many cords. That's why I like wireless stuff. It's too
mhm,
many cords just overwhelms me
Yeah.
too. So that's why like I love having a wireless mouse. The one I'm using now is a Corsair 12 button wireless one because I am an MMO
Mm.
player. But also because the one good thing about this mouse is I can program the buttons when I'm not gaming to do certain things to make it easier on me.
I didn't know they
Accessibility
had
queen.
that. I
I
also
need
Yeah,
have
to
a
I
home
have.
look into
button,
one.
but
This
it's
one,
a
yeah,
razor.
this one works with
Oh my god,
the
Marjorie, I've just
Stream Deck.
realised.
What?
Got the same mouse, I didn't realise it was wireless.
Yeah,
I've
no,
got
it's
it plugged
wireless
in.
and it
Yeah,
actually
I want a
you
wireless
can
one.
you can have this do a virtual Elgato Stream Deck actually too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm gonna
So
play
I
that
That's
have
tonight when I've got
it
awesome.
the
I
time.
have when I'm doing I gotta reprogram it sometimes to make it easier on me for opening games, I have it. But I'm trying to find ways to make it easier for editing to be able to use this, especially because I have gotten into bookish content creation now, which has brought me so
Mm-hmm.
much joy that I was missing with just streaming and having to edit. That's a whole
Mm-hmm.
nother topic we can get into probably. Um, but like being able to program stuff now is so it makes it so much easier with this and having the virtual stream deck, honestly. So I just opened
Do you think
something
that
up too
helps in
because I
terms
clicked
of
it.
you being, like, accessible as a streamer? Does that sort of equipment
I
help?
think it
I
does.
find it when the buttons are just kind
I
of there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I find it too. And then also, I don't have enough desk space to have an actual stream deck. Would it be nice? Yes. But I actually got really lucky and I got from Elgato a lifetime subscription to the Steam Deck app on my for mobile. So that has helped me. I'll eventually figure a way to have maybe I might get like an old iPad that I can just set up on my desk one day is what I'll
that's what I
probably
used to
do
have before I had
eventually.
that. Mhm.
Um, because honestly, I don't have the desk space. My
Mm-hmm.
dad's birthday gift to me last year was my mic. And then I actually
Aw.
have the audio setup you would use at radio stations on my desk. 'Cause a thing that the whole thing that would sit in a server rack, that's on my desk.
That's amazing.
Love
Um,
it.
so
That's
talking about
awesome.
just talk about accessibility then in terms of streamers or content creators. Is there anything else that
I
you
think
guys, sorry, you
I
women also use?
yeah, I think now because a lot of us are very outspoken about accessibility being very important,
Mm-hmm.
it's made developers within gaming and also the tech companies become more aware of what people who are disabled and wanting for accessibility, honestly.
I very
It's becoming
loudly
more
share
thing.
my screen on my stream. One of the when we're starting a new game, the first thing I'll do is go look for the accessibility menu and to see what
Mhm.
Yes.
options they have. Because
Hmm.
I'm a person who can very rarely play first person view games because I get motion sickness.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
even sometimes that translates now to third person games. If there's a lot of camera shake or motion blur and things like that. So that's at bare minimum the first things that we look for. And then does it have controller and keyboard adaptability? One way or the other. Can you rebind or remap? Because friends who have accessibility controllers need things like that. Um,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. And I think the more, Marjorie, that we very vocally say, these aren't good accessibility options, they need to do better out
Yeah.
loud, people will listen. And I just want to shout out
Absolutely.
indie companies are
Yes.
more amazing than ever than AAA companies for doing things like that.
Like, because we were yapping a little bit while we were getting everything set up earlier. We were talking about like modding games and stuff. Like, so Stardew, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the community has made mods to help with accessibility because the
Mhm.
developer himself hasn't really done it. Now compare
Mm-hmm.
that to Fields of Mystria. Fields of Mystria has a really amazing accessibility menu, and I love it. Meanwhile,
And they
with
added more.
they've added more. With Stardew, for
Yeah.
me to really get my enjoyment out of playing it multiple times, I have to mod that game now at this point because I've talked about this a lot. I
Mm.
really like fishing. I like pausing the time
Mm-hmm.
in game so I can just sit there and fish. It's relaxing to me, you
Yes.
know?
I love that. Like for
Mhm.
me, with the fishing, I had to do auto fishing because I actually
Me
have
Mhm.
too.
pain in my
Mm-hmm.
hands, and I
Yeah.
literally told my I have like a fire that only has the auto fishing. I was like, "This is the only mod I'm using. No one is allowed to judge me. I need this unless we are going human crying pain." And so I got lucky when my friends bought like compression clips to help.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
The only issue is with those, with like FPS shooting games and all that, it's so hard to like actually play them. So I would actually have to take breaks. I was like telling my friends like, if I have a fill up, I would literally play Jeff in Rivals just because it's so
Mm-hmm.
much easier. And I hate how people like, I say, oh, he's like so quick. I'm like, well, if you look at chronic pain level, that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
better heroes, and I'm able to play the game.
Yeah, that's
I
really
think
important.
I don't know if Amber
Mm-hmm.
was gonna mention South of Midnight. It's got an incredible accessibility menu.
Yes,
I'm
it
playing it tomorrow morning.
does.
I'm very
Yeah.
excited, but I know that
I
Amber's
wanted
also
to
played.
cry. I couldn't believe how many options there were, and for more things than like we normally even think of, right? Like the look through the settings menu on that game. It's great. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's
One
coming
thing
out. Actually, I can't say that.
Oh,
Never mind. I was gonna
Oh.
um,
say.
for MMO players, I will say for Final Fantasy 14, a lot of people will have to use plugins for accessibility, but
mhm,
the team is very open to like they see these plugins, so they've added
mhm,
stuff, which is great. But for WoW, one thing I really like that they added is the one button rotation in WoW. So when I'm having my bad
Yes.
flare ups, I just sit there and hit my button. I will be learning my stuff eventually when I am able to afford midnight with friends. But I'm that's one thing that makes me a little bit more drawn towards playing WoW over 14 right now is just having that
mhm,
ability to have a one click rotation.
mhm. And
Yeah,
something I want to say
definitely.
too that I'm sure all of us agree with, and just a note for chat, just so everybody can hear it and like develop in their brain. It is okay to play games on easier difficulties. Easy mode does not
Mhm.
make you less of a gamer.
Yes.
Mhm.
Accessibility modes don't make you less than a gamer. Games are for enjoying, and if you're
This is
enjoying it
not
the way that you're playing it, then you are doing it the correct way.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
exactly. So we're gonna take 5-minute break in a minute, if that's okay with everybody, because we've been chatting for
Sure.
Mhm.
Mhm.
an hour.
Oh yeah.
But I have a question just before we do break off: is what accommodation has made the biggest difference to your stream or the communities that you're in as a viewer? So for me, I get overwhelmed with sound, auditory processing disorder, and also overwhelm.
Mhm.
So I really do rely on captions on mobile. And it's not
Mhm.
something that I actually have on my stream very well at the moment. It's very easy to use because I have the vertical beta with Twitch. I love the plugin that you can put into your streaming software, and that automatically comes up on mobile at the bottom. So I feel like maybe probably Birch is maybe the best person at first talk about captions than anybody else that would like to add anything else that they think that's made a big difference for them.
I
Yeah,
definitely think captions.
Mhm.
captions are great. I think depending on the type of catch oh my gosh, depending on the type of captions you use. There are some great ones out there and there are some really bad ones out there. And I think you should definitely look into what are good ones, especially if you're using OBS. Rapid Compiler, their plugin is amazing. It follows what you're saying very well and it doesn't do any silly things. Pixel Chat has a good one as well, and it's very
Mhm.
customizable. I
Mm.
like that one for accessibility because you can make it as the text and font as big as you need it to be, as small as you need it to be. You
Mhm.
can put it anywhere on the screen, and theirs is awesome. Um, I know Twitch's theirs got better over time. I haven't
Mhm.
used it personally, but I know
That's
their
good to
extension got
know.
better. Yeah. Um, so yeah, just double check on those.
I
Who else has
definitely
it?
know I have to, because like for me, I've been so skilled to, because ever since I was like a young girl, tech never like understood what I said. So my fear of like closed captioning is like, what if it just says like I said something and I'm like, that's not what I said, since I haven't like used it because of it. Because like like Siri, Alexa, and all that, none of them understands me like whatsoever, and I'm like, well, it's so it's good to hear from other people which ones they like and all that.
I posted the ones in chat that I use, and it connects. That's the Stream CC ones with the purple button. Then there's obviously there is also a plugin as well. And also I wanted to touch on it. I'm not very knowledgeable on it. I don't know if anybody else here is in terms of visual. I know that there is sort of a color theory that people recommend in terms of branding and content creation that allows people that struggle with colors to see things better.
Yes, there is a website that you can go to and use. And I'm trying to find it and pull it up now so I can post it in chat. But essentially it gives you you can put your like colors into it or like fonts into it and things, and it tells you like gives you an accessibility score. So like readability of a color on a color or readability of a font on a color and things like that. I work in a graphic arts department, so um I'm very thankful that that has come up in conversations in that, because um I many of us are glasses wearers here in this panel, and contacts wearers, and even with like even with even with my glasses on and stuff, I have an astigmatism, and so sometimes it can make it as if I'm not. It makes it feel like I'm not um, wearing them. So going through a process of just checking, even with a program, to see if there are any accessibility issues with your panels or backgrounds or things like that. Let me see if I can find that really quick.
I'm looking for it too because I
Yeah.
was like, I have this somewhere.
Didn't
Mhm.
Holly, didn't you post it for us?
I wasn't sure if it was the right one or not. It was the only one I sort of found.
Okay.
I wasn't sure.
So there should be one in our chat, y'all, if you wanted to check that one.
This one is for colors specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
really
I think
clever.
it's
Oh,
that one.
contrast
Yeah.
I'm gonna send
checker.
that.
Mhm.
Yes, I like
I'm
this
gonna send
one.
that to myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because I
perfect.
recently, I think last year, was redoing my branding colors. And now that I'm
Mhm.
also fixing to soon start working on my website with my dad. So that's the next thing I gotta he like was like, I sent you all this stuff so you can like mess around and stuff. And I said, thank you.
Mhm.
So I was like, this is great to remind
That's
me
really
about that.
helpful. Yeah, thank you. Do we want to go on a quick couple of minutes break, run some ads, get some water, have a little bit of stretch if you're able to, and then we'll
Yes.
come back in a
yeah,
couple of
I
minutes?
was
Does that sound
I'm
gonna
good?
gonna
see if
switch
we
I'm
can.
gonna switch to my BRB screen for everyone, but I
Me
highly
too.
encourage everyone to hydrate, please.
Yes,
Yes,
everyone get a
yes,
Okay.
drink.
yes.
Everybody that's watching as well, have a little stretch as well, because I know a lot of you have been here since the beginning. So we'll see you in a couple of
Mhm.
minutes. We'll run some ads, and I'll see you soon.
I also need to take another migraine med too, I
Please
think.
do. Yeah.
We're back.
Welcome back. Hope everybody had a good stretch.
It was
If
perfect
anybody
time
caught my
because I was.
captions,
Oh,
say again.
I was going to say it was perfect time because I was about to ask for a break because I was like, I need to use the bathroom. So.
Oh, I got the notification about the carousel. That's cool. We were on it for a
Hey.
little bit. So that's really cool, guys. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you for that follow as well.
Yeah,
Let's go.
And Charlotte, thank you for the 10 stream streak as well. What was I going to say? No, I can't remember. So the next part, that's sort of on
No
the
worries.
topic loosely, is ADHD brain, is being a woman and being disabled, which we kind of all touched on a little bit already, or got a lot. But sort of things that I've sort of written we could touch on. Anybody can start if you want to. Is being an underestimated, expectations as a woman, late diagnosis, and an identity shift with that diagnosis. And I know, Amber, you were keen to talk about the difference between ADHD and autism in young girls and young boys. So happy for whoever wants to start and go from there.
I'm happy to start with
Yeah, let's have
a
Amber.
little bit of information, if you will. So this is not just me talking out of my behind. I worked in early education for 13 years and got diagnosed with ADHD as an adult. So as many of us who have any sort of like neurodivergence or have any sort of disability, we often become subject matter experts in
Oh
our
wait,
disability.
Amber, we can't hear you.
Oh,
Like that
They
your
can't hear you.
stream.
Yeah, chat.
Are you muted on stream?
let me see. I might be. Yeah, yes, I sure am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was just on my stream. Okay. So, what I was saying was that oftentimes with people with any sort of disability, a neurodivergency or an invisible illness or a physical illness, we often become subject matter experts in our disability because we live with it every day. And as women, we're often not believed when we go to the doctor, especially if you're a woman of color. And so, having more knowledge when it comes to your disability allows you to advocate for yourself better. And also, I was an early childhood educator for 13 years. So I do have a background in early childhood education. And so once I became diagnosed with ADHD or began the journey being diagnosed with ADHD, I wanted to look into the research of why this was happening because I am not the only woman in my I'm not the only woman in my circle who has been late diagnosed with ADHD. It seems to be very common. And according to the research I found, um, the reason this is because girls are more often diagnosed with the inattentive type of ADHD. So when you have a diagnosis of ADHD, you have the possibility of four different diagnoses. You have the hyperactive ADHD, which is the sort of stereotypical loud, can't settle down, lots of fidgeting sort of ADHD. You have inattentive ADHD, which is more like daydreaming and inability to focus on a task. There is combination where you are both have you have the experience of both inattentive and hyperactive ADHD. And then there is a fourth category that I have just discovered that is a like a non-categorized ADHD. So someone who maybe doesn't quite fit into inattentive or hyperactive or combination, but still does have still has those diagnoses sort of like in them, right? And so there is this conception, and it may be a misconception, that girls who are diagnosed with ADHD are more often inattentive type, which is harder to diagnose because it is not, much like people with invisible illnesses, it is not a very outward, it's not a very outward disability, right? Um, Daydreaming, um, losing your thought in the middle of a sentence, uh, having issues with staying on task, things like that are often thought of not necessarily as a disability, but just maybe someone who's a little bit dreamy or a little bit, just like a little bit quirky and not necessarily part of a disability. So um, the the diagnosis criteria has developed over time to include more information about inattentive ADHD. And so we're finding now, as we grow into women, that these symptoms that we were having when we were younger um, were not something that was wrong or something that we just had as a personality trait, but these are things that are preventing us from being successful. Um, Things like for our friends who have ADHD, I have a question here in the panel. How many of you on your report cards when you were younger had a talk too much note on your report card?
No.
Yeah.
That's a sign of ADHD. Obviously, it can also be a sign of just being a very social little one, but also is a sign of inattentive ADHD. You can't concentrate on the lesson at hand. You are doing other things, forgetting assignments, losing your supplies, things like that are often thought of like, oh, she's just this, that, or the other, often accused of being lazy. But really, it's all a part of this diagnosis. So, all of that to say, while there are definitely boys that are inattentive ADHD as well, um, hyperactive ADHD is much more recognized because it does have um, more like outward symptoms, where an inattentive ADHD has more inward symptoms. So girls tend to have more inward, the inattentive ADHD symptoms, and so not as easily diagnosed until we get further into, further into science and finding out these different types. So many of us have been diagnosed as adults because they didn't think that that was ADHD. They didn't think that it was ADHD, and so we love when the science and medical fields um, develop to allow us to get diagnoses and to get the help that we need. So, um, for friends who are maybe looking into maybe getting a young person diagnosed with ADHD, just note that symptoms typically start to show around the ages of 3 to 5, which is like beginning school age, right? Whether or not they can um, stay on task with stories or lessons, things like that, are a beginning indicator. Not always, like, oh, she didn't pay attention to one story, so she has ADHD, but just a sign to keep an eye on, to see if that may be possibility. Also genetic. There's also genetic factors of ADHD. So if you have a family member, a sibling, or a parent that's ADHD, you're more likely to have ADHD. Also, children um, who are in traumatic situations tend to have exacerbated that
No,
word I
you
was
had it. You had the first time you said it. It was right.
Mhm.
they tend to show stronger signs of their ADHD, whether it's inactive or hyperactive. Um, so yeah, we've come a long way where women are now being diagnosed correctly or more, because we have new information that we can diagnose for. So come a long way from 1992 when I was in school and having some of these troubles. And I'm really thankful for all the women who are now diagnosed, are able to get their diagnoses, and also for all the young girls who now um, have the attention on them that they need in order to succeed.
I think too, to add into that, it's because a lot of us who are finding out in later life these diagnoses, because of that, there's more women now in science and stuff who were
Mm-hmm.
going through the struggle now, because traditionally in science and medicine, it's been men who have always been studied versus women.
Yes.
And so now that mindset is changing as more women are getting into science in the medical field, especially. And then I want to tie in onto Amber. a topic too that I brought up with everyone. So one thing that happens, especially in autoimmune diseases especially, are all interconnected with mental illness as well too. It all
Mm-hmm.
connects with each other, and they're finding, especially I forget the study, I'm gonna have to find it, but especially with those who have autism and ADHD especially,
Mm-hmm.
they're finding have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
fibromyalgia, lupus.
Yeah.
There's so much now that they're
Bipolar
finding.
disorder.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That they're finding that with autoimmune diseases especially, the markers are there in genetic testing now
Mm-hmm.
for you being predisposed basically to maybe having other things pop up, because they're all so interconnected now that they're finding. And I think they're especially finding this because of women. We are the
Mm-hmm.
ones. Well, let me run back. Let me use a female at birth. Let me use that term too.
Mm-hmm.
They're finding with females at birth that those who are maybe, getting late diagnosed with autoimmune diseases, because a lot of times they don't happen until later in life due to stress, especially like say COVID brought out a ton of autoimmune
Yes.
diseases for people. Like for me especially, I wouldn't have had my psoriasis happen until I was probably in my 50s, which is when it happened with my mom. Instead, I got it when I was late 20s during COVID, is what has brought up my all my autoimmune diseases. And they're finding too, like POTS is like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are getting developed POTS because of COVID, lupus because of COVID. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much that's happening because of COVID and long COVID, um,
Yeah.
that is actually being really good for research right now, especially because it's not even just in a female at birth, they're noticing it in males at birth now too because of
Mm-hmm.
COVID too. So it, I would say right now that um sciences in the medical field are very important, and
Mm-hmm.
it is very distressing to see how, especially for those
Mm-hmm.
of us who are in the United States, how our government is trying to
Mhm.
shut all that down and prevent
Yes.
critical life-saving research that it could be done, and that we're seeing other nations such as China instead find these discoverable things that are basically getting us cures for
Mhm.
things because of that,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And a good note that you said, Marjorie, was many of the reasons why we now know scientific facts about women compared to men, or like women at birth compared to men at birth, is because women were tired of not knowing what's going on in their bodies.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times women aren't believed at the doctor's office.
Mhm.
Panel, is there any time, raise your hand if you've had any
Me.
experience where a doctor didn't believe something that you've said,
Yep.
whether or not it had to do with your invisible
Yeah.
illness or not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
to go off of that, especially if you have Ehlers-Danlos, POTS, and fibromyalgia, a lot of times you are put
Mhm.
under fibromyalgia because they don't know what is exactly going
Yeah.
wrong,
Mm-hmm.
because everything is
Mhm.
interconnected. My first voice teacher, she checked marks. What, there's like 17, 16, 17 different types of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I think, or something. There's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there's a lot. She literally has a binder now that she has to take whenever she has to change providers, because they don't want to believe her and stuff.
Mhm.
And it's even hard to trust female doctors, because how medical school trains is still
Mhm.
based on the 1960s and 70s research, especially when it concerns women and BIPOC. And it's disgusting. It's only now
Mhm.
just changing certain things because of women and BIPOC in medicine and science are publishing their findings in their research that dates back for so many years, that this is why things are changing.
Mhm. I have few things to add. Like it started with the ADHD. So for me,
No, that's
I
fine.
was lucky to be diagnosed when I was a young girl because my mom actually has ADHD. The funny thing is, I'm adopted. So we don't have the blood relationship.
Oh,
But
that's
she's
interesting.
yeah, so she's like, okay, yeah, my daughter probably has ADHD. Just I could just see it. So she was finding it hard for it. So I was lucky to get that. But the issue with that is with my chronic pain and chronic illness, I've been trying to get diagnosis because, like, for like 10 years, I got like medical gaslighted to the point where, like, I don't want to see a doctor, but I was like, okay, you know what? No, it's getting bad. Like, it's gone to the point where I can't have a job because, like, my fatigue is so bad. Well, like, I used to like do like a nanny job, and it was like one of the like easiest like nanny job. I almost like fell asleep just because of like how exhausted I was just driving the kids home. And so I noticed like more I learned about like Alexander syndrome because I believe I have it just because of the pain, and like I have gone to the point where some of my friends could confirm this. Well, I have actually gaslighted myself, saying, "Oh, my pain is not there. I'm faking it," and they're like, "No, we could see it on your face. Like,
Yeah.
you are not faking it. We could see it." And so, luckily for my community, I have gotten to the point where I have got yelled at by my community if I stream when I'm in pain, or like if I'm started to have like a flu, or like when I had COVID, because I had it for a month because I got it. And the first week, I literally told people, I'm like, hey, I need someone to like handle DMs because like the first 4 days I was like in and out of sleep, like I was not present. And so I got to the point at the month, I was like, okay, I have my energy. I want to stream. I was getting yelled at. They're like, man, go back to bed. I'm like, but I feel fine. Let me stream. I miss you guys. I need this. And I found out like my community and like my friends like became the support system I needed. Cause like yeah, my parents do understand chronic pain, chronic illness, and they also have their own stuff. Well, like it's gotten to the point where they understand but not like believe it, and then we're getting to that point of like I understand you guys don't understand what I'm feeling, but I know you guys have like something that's similar. Like I noticed with like my chronic headaches, I used to have like 1 month I had it like 23 out of like the 29 days or something like that. And I found out when I was drinking coffee daily, it helped reduce it. So like I'm like I hate coffee. I don't like drinking coffee, but I'm like, well, if it was, it was. If it's clean. So yeah. I
I'm
have
gonna
more, but I don't remember.
I'm gonna say something that might blow people's mind. If you're having a headache that's going on as long as Sleepy Beauty says, that's not a headache. That is a migraine. That is a migraine. That's not a headache. Take it from someone who I have migraines every single day. That is my daily for me. So if you are having headaches lasting days, that's a migraine. Please, I implore you to go to your doctor. And if they try to gaslight you, say no. Keep a track of a journal of them to show.
Yeah. So I'd like to share my experience on my late diagnosis. I am autistic and I have ADHD, if nobody sort of heard. So I only got diagnosed ADHD 2 years ago, and I got a diagnosis of autism in October. And the reason I seek ADHD originally is because I was really suffering with my mental health. I've always been diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I know that that's always, quite often, not always, is a misdiagnosis for being ADHD and autism. So I spoke to a doctor. I spoke to a lovely doctor, and when he explained, and it was a man, which I was very scared to speak to be completely honest. Like we spoke about it before, was that we were speaking to a man that was potentially not going to listen to how I was feeling, was actually fantastic and referred me. So in the UK, we've got something called right to choose, and it means we can self-refer for a diagnosis for autism, ADHD, and neurodivergence. So I went through that path. Obviously, it's a long waiting list if you do it directly through the NHS. So it's like 6 years plus as an adult to get diagnosed. So it took me 2 to 3 years because I was on the shared care program. But that program has like shot up and the waiting list is long again because there's been, like Amber and Marjorie mentioned, was that there's been so much research and so many people are realizing that they have this neurodivergence. So but something I really struggled with we were sort of talking about getting diagnosed was talking about sort of, it felt like I had to prove myself or prove that I had it, which is wasn't what the assessment was for. They weren't going to say no, you don't have it. They just wanted to hear your experiences, and I actually really struggled with that, and I think throughout when I was writing all of my assessment notes, because I've got a book full of things and instances where I've researched what autism and ADHD are, and then I've gone back to moments in my life where I've had trauma or a difficult time. Like, I'll be very honest, and I talk about it on stream. I don't have many friends in real life because as a child and throughout university, undiagnosed, I struggled to hold friendships and relationships, and I was bullied a lot throughout school, and I've so much trauma from it. But rewriting that, bringing that to an assessment was more nerve wracking than what I'm doing right now. I was so scared that someone was just going to be like, no, you're fine. Like, you're neurotypical. You don't have anything. So if anybody is feeling like that feeling is valid. And then equally to the other end, when you do have your assessment and if you do get a diagnosis, and I've been speaking to some friends about this recently who have been diagnosed ADHD, I felt like there was a grieving process. And it's really, I feel a bit emotional talking about it. I'm trying not to cry. You grieve your childhood. So I'm very openly, please don't share your ages in chat, but I'm 33. And that was 32, 33 years of my life where potentially if the science was there, I would have had much more help in school, friendships. I might have had a bit more support in that way. And like, I'm hoping now that the science has developed, if I decide to have a child, I can support them. I've also got nieces and nephews, and 3 out of 4 are neurodivergent, and I'm able to have a conversation with their parents to explain how it might be for them. Obviously, I don't know if they're only little, they're 3 or 4, they can't explain how they feel. But for me, if I was reacting a certain way, I can sort of explain why it is, etc. So yeah, that was what I wanted to sort of mention about. I'm sorry if I missed anybody's chats because if I read it, I probably would have cried at the same time
No,
anybody being
I'm
nice.
tearing up for you. I'm a very
Yeah,
emotional person.
yes.
Because that's one thing too that we've all probably experienced is the grieving process because we are judged by people, by able-bodied people, sometimes our own friends and families too. I'm very lucky that with my parents, hold on, I gotta find something because I'm crying.
I'm sorry I made everybody cry. I'm not
No,
crying,
it's
yes.
fine. But it's very hard to go from being able-bodied to not. And for
Yeah.
me, it happened so fast. I'm talking
Mhm.
within 3 months, I was in serious pain. Now, luckily, my mom and I see all the same doctors, so we just go, "Hey, can y'all just book us same day and time?" Basically, it's easier.
Mhm.
And especially when I started being seen by rheumatologists, it got even easier because
Mm.
my rheumatologist was like, "I this is actually so cool to have because I've been seeing our mom, so I know what everything shows for her, and now we're seeing it in you, and it's going to make it easier for me to work to find something that's going to work for you because I have your mom's history and stuff." Because like even trying to piece the histories along in my family where stuff has probably happened genetically is very hard. For
Mhm.
example, with my dad's side of the family, I don't really know a lot. We're trying to start piecing that together.
Mhm.
But the same can be said for my mom's side of the family because my grandfather, his side of family comes from small farming community where they all intermarried with each other in these two towns. So that caused genetic issues, obviously. And then with my grandma's side, there's a lot of stuff too. And my uncles have shared with my mom, who has shared with me that, oh, hey, yeah, they have psoriasis too, or they have this happening. Um, and it's been very interesting to do all the genetic testing, because I think out of my cousins, I'm the only one who has the bipolar depression, the anxiety that my grandmother had. None of my cousins of my generation have it. I'm the only one it presents in. And it might be even true for all the invisible illness stuff too, that I'm probably going to be the only one it presents in too. Because I actually like shared with my cousins, because we had a family wedding a couple of years ago and we were all catching up because it had been a while. And they were asking how stuff was, and that we were getting into that discussion and stuff, because there's stuff that my uncle never shared with them about the family. So they were like, oh, wow. Um, so there is a grieving process. And I honestly can't tell you when the grieving process ends, because for me, clearly it hasn't. And who knows, I might continue grieving my entire life too, because it's just going to get progressively worse for me as I age. Because it's, as Holly said, I too wish the knowledge that we have now with stuff
Mm-hmm.
in science and medicine. I wish we had that when I was growing up in the 90s. And you know, we're seeing some stuff happen in the kids of the next generation of my family too. So, hopefully what everything's happening with me, my cousins can see, and hopefully start maybe looking forward in their children and everything. And hopefully their children and the rest of the generations going forward won't have this grieving process, is my biggest hope.
Mhm. I jump in? I'll be good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So since I
Just me and
mentioned
Amber
I
did
was,
cry and
oh, I was
We're all like,
going, yeah. The grieving process from what I noticed with like being on the side of chronic pain and chronic illness, because that honestly it's been saving me. I'm gonna be saying, because I was like, okay, it's nice to know what other people are experiencing and all that. And from what I could tell, the grieving process is, I don't think it's going to go away. Like, it's going to be though, no matter what. And I noticed like having people supporting you helps with that. And jumping from that to the geneticists and all that, since I'm adopted, I know nothing about my family history. So it's interesting to hear what happens with someone who actually has the ability to look at genetics like that. So I was like, oh, so that's how that works. So it's definitely crazy. I would also say I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. The thing with my diagnosis, it was verbalized. It's not on my record from what we have discovered, and but I ended up trying like go get another diagnosis of I cannot pronounce that, but like the endo.
Endometriosis?
endometriosis.
Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
Turns out I don't have that, but I had two doctors look at my ultrasound. That gave me two different answers. And then I found out like about fibromyalgia and periods, how it's all connected. Not from the doctors, but just a random TikTok video and things like that. So it's like really interesting how much like you get part of that. You find out like what you may have, or like things like that, how it's connected. Because I always like told my parents, I was like, I know my tests are coming back normal. We all been told I'm healthy, because I'm like a skinny person, so they can't tell me, "Oh, lose weight, everything is fine."
Mhm. Ugh.
Like I was told, like, period. Yeah.
I was raising my
Yeah.
hand at Amber's text
Okay.
because yeah. A lot of times, and I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure my friend who is talking about me how like me and her are like very close knit
Mhm.
in my chat. And have figured things out because of our experiences to each other, but also
Mhm.
like social
Mhm.
media, having TikTok and the reels on Instagram, whatever shorts and
Mhm.
stuff on
Mhm.
any of the stuff has been really great for me to be like, oh, I noticing that. I should bring it up to my doctor. And I have
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
certain things, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
because too, same as you, I think it's now on my record that I have fibro, but my
Mhm.
rheumatologist, I was saying something. She was like, "Has anyone ever told you that you have fibro?" And I said, No, but now that's nice to know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks. I would have really have liked to know that because too, and this is something I think Holly can maybe touch on how it is in the UK for the process of getting disability there. Here in the US, it's very hard. A lot of
Mhm.
times you have to try multiple times. And sometimes the only way you get successful in it is once you hire a disability lawyer. And that's a lot
Mhm.
of money to get done and
Mhm.
stuff. So I know the process for disability is a lot different in the UK. And I don't know if you've looked at any of that, Holly. I do have a friend that is on disability in the UK. So I do know how the process is and stuff.
Yeah, I can touch on it, but I don't. So I've recently only January because of my autism diagnosis being so fresh. Again, sort of touching into that imposter syndrome, where I work full time and I earn money otherwise. I was like, do I really need this? And then I sort of was looking at the application. So the application sort of basically is trying to understand. Well, first you have to ring up and ask for an application or a postal one. You can't just apply, you have to ask for the application first because they sort of vet you, ask you why you're going to go and request it. And then you get your, they actually, depends on where you live, they can send it to you online. You can fill it out online or they post it to you and then you post it back. And I had mine posted to me. Sorry, sent to me online. I didn't have it posted. And essentially, it sort of goes through all different reasons. So it's working out sort of your ability, whether you're able to do everything, look after yourself, etc. All those sort of questions. I think they're probably standard questions that they're sort of working out. Some things that I wrote down for me and what being autistic and ADHD, I really struggled to keep up with cleaning my house, and also I waste a lot of food. And I at first I was like, that can't be really that valid, but actually that is a really valid reason to request it because I'm probably wasting £100 a week throwing stuff away because I don't like the texture or something I don't like the
Mhm.
taste of, like
Mhm.
so many different things like that. But in terms of the processes itself, so you call somebody, you fill in the form, and then your form gets processed. Then you have to wait for somebody to read it, and then they pass it back to someone else, and then someone else decides whether you'll get it's called disability allowance in the UK. But if you are a neurodivergent, 78% is the chance that you will get funded. That's it. You don't. There's nothing more, and it's quite rare. It's quite hard to receive it. So you really
Mhm.
do have to dig down if you're going to apply for it in the UK. You really need to express why it is that you need it. Um, Dee Dee, I know, has filled it in, and I think Ghoul, who's also my mod in chat, um, yeah, Dee Dee had to fill it in for paper as a disability document. For it being a paper document for somebody who's disabled is mind blowing, which is probably the reason why they started to send it online as well. So yeah, that is it in the UK, and then I'm still waiting to hear for here, and I applied in January, so probably been
It's
waiting here for a couple more months.
It is hard here because one thing they also do, I don't know if they do this in the UK, but I know they do it here because my mom has had a friend who has had it. You get spied on after you apply. You get spied on. They follow you around to see what you're doing. He got denied because even though he was disabled, his mom's HOA said, "Hey, we're going to fine you if you don't mow your grass," and none of his siblings wanted to help out. And he got caught mowing even though he has was in excruciating pain and having to do stuff that his siblings refused to do to help out their elder mother.
Awful. I
It
think I don't
is,
know about it being
Mhm.
spied on in the UK, but I think if someone can report you, that's probably what it is. But if someone's malicious against you and something
yeah.
petty, they might do it.
And
I don't know if
and
anybody else in the chat from the UK can say.
yeah, and touching in on the like for neurodivergency stuff, it's very hard here to also get disability from that. I have a friend who is going through that right now. Back when I was in therapy, when I could afford it, my therapist and I talked about that possibility too at one point. And she was actually working with one of her um patients to get that, and they were actually getting successful with it. It's just very, very hard here as well. But like I said, it's honestly, it feels like you're going to battle with the department here in the US to get it, because usually it's expected that you get denied your first time, and then
Mhm.
after that it's a 50-50 if you're going to get denied again or not. I think sometimes it takes people like up to 5 years to get
Mhm.
approval, I think
Mhm.
here.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah.
there is still a
Mhm.
lot of stereotyping in the United States, and I don't know if this exists elsewhere, about people who are on disability.
Mhm.
Um, and
Mhm.
it's a lot of words that I'm sure everybody on this panel has heard about themselves in their life, that you're just lazy, that you want to just mooch off the system,
Mhm.
that you're trying to do XYZ.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
even if you get your disability, you get your paper, you get your placard, you get whatever you need in order to make your life more accessible, there are still going to be people who don't believe you. There are going to be
Yep.
people,
Mhm.
and I sorry to use you as an example, Marjorie, but I'm sure that you have probably had situations where you have a handicap placard and you've parked in a
I
handicap
do.
spot, and somebody has been like, "You're not disabled."
Oh,
Like, what's
Yep.
that happens in the UK.
That
Yeah.
that's happened with my mom too. Because everything we just recently were able to do it with me, and um I started the process last year, but like I said, my mom ended up having emergency brain surgery
Yeah.
and stuff, so it got put off for us. But yeah, I now have a placard in the
Mhm.
car that me and her share. We have the plates and stuff, so and we both have placards for the other cars we own too, so that way if we're not, say, in the car, that is easy for us to, like, if I'm driving my dad's truck, I have it in my dad's truck at least
Mhm.
and stuff. But yeah, I've gotten looks when I have my bad days and I don't have my cane on me, because sometimes I forget to just put it in the car, because I use it around the house too. So sometimes it just doesn't make it out to the car and everything. I will say the one place I don't use it is the park I do my walks, because I feel like I'll get really judged there. So I haven't, because I have anxiety about it because of that.
I don't know if this is a thing elsewhere, but at least in the US, disability also puts severe asset limits on you. You can only have $2,000, period. And like sometimes your car and what your car is worth counts against that. Anything, like any money that you have in the bank, any kind of asset at all counts against it. And disabled people in the US also don't have marriage equality. If they get
Yep,
married, their benefits disappear. They don't get them
yep.
anymore. They're expected to rely on their spouse,
That's
regardless of
ridiculous.
what their spouse makes or if their spouse is also disabled.
Disability
It's
allowance in the UK
scary.
isn't means tested. It's not means tested in the UK.
Yeah,
So that's
it's
really
very
irritating.
screwed up here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, like I think so you can have only $2,000 in your account, and then I think there there is a way to have a separate account for medical spending, but
Mhm.
even that is limited here too, to the amount that you can
Mm-hmm.
have it on, and you can only use it for medical stuff. If you have to pull out of that to say to pay a bill or something, they will shut that account down and take that money away.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, that's one of the like the 2K savings was one of the reasons why I didn't like go after it. Like I started to, and I have bad phone anxiety. So if
Mm-hmm.
like you saying you're gonna call at a certain time, I'm expecting you to call at that time. if you're 30 minutes after that, I'm like, I don't answer. Like, I'm like, nope. And then it was like this whole thing. So, like, I literally told my mom, I was like, first, if I do this, I want to focus on getting like my disability, not disability, my diagnosis for my chronic pain before adding the stress, because I noticed like if you add so much stuff on top of things, I would go into throw up. So it's like one of those things.
Yeah, I suffer
I'm
with
glad that
phone
someone
anxiety.
else. I'm glad.
Yeah, Holly, it's good that you bring that up because actually, it's a fun fact. I haven't been able to finish my degree because my disability department at my university discriminated against me.
Fun
Oh,
fact.
I couldn't be part-time, even though I'd been part-time before. The new disability office, supervisors said, oh, that shouldn't have even happened. And I was like, excuse you? So,
why? How is
yeah.
that? How did they get away with discriminating against
Exactly.
you?
And what was so funny is that was actually one of the reasons the disability stuff in the UK. It's kind of ironic because I was supposed to, when COVID happened, I was supposed to go to the UK for 2 weeks and tour universities that I was interested in transferring to for a master's program in music and eventually like live in the UK was my goal, was to be able to live in the UK and Europe because of how the arts is appreciated there, especially musicology versus here in the US.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm sorry that it didn't work out for you. That's really, really rough. I don't really know what to say. That's really sad.
Yeah, I know.
Sad
No.
for you.
And it's
And
hard. I just posted in chat, like, I know it's so wild to hear people be like, "Oh my gosh, really?" Because I think that for those of us who live in the US, where none of us are surprised. Like,
No.
does my heart break for you, Marjorie, because that happened? Absolutely, yes. But I'm not surprised that it happened.
yeah, and I'm not
Yeah.
the only person who gets discriminated against by their own disability offices and universities here, by the way.
Mhm,
Just
mhm.
FYI.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, please report them and also get a lawyer because
Mhm.
in the similar instance at my university, we had a trans student get discriminated against because I went to a Catholic university, by the way. And even though they are one of the more liberal sides of Catholicism and stuff, especially in the area my university is in my city, um, the university had to pay. They decided instead of going to court to pay everything out of pocket because they didn't want that getting out to donators
Oh,
and everything. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that person ended up getting their whole tuition paid for the rest of the time they were there,
Oh,
which
good.
rightfully so.
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
The least that should happen.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to wait, hold on. I had to fight my university to restate my scholarship every single semester for not taking same. That's actually why so I got COVID my last year I was in my university program because I got it from my vocal performance. I had to do that for my junior year for my degree, for my junior recital. My pianist had it, my accompanist. So her husband didn't have it and came to play at my recital and I got it from him.
Mhm.
And I literally I ended up not being able, I was turning in stuff late. I ended up not even turning in a final because I just didn't have the energy to from COVID.
Mhm.
And my university said, "Oh, well, we've given you so many like allowances to you know, with scholarships and stuff, you're going to have to pay out of pocket now." Even though I that semester had been discriminated against by the disability office. And the only people who listened to me about it were my professors in my music program
Mhm.
because they are very, very caring. And it's like the fine arts of this program was like in its own bubble. Let me just tell you, we were in our own bubble
Mhm.
away from the rest of the university, honestly, is how it felt. And my professors and the head of my department at the time were the only ones who they were like, we really don't know how to help you out to fight stuff. That's the one thing we don't know what to do. We don't know what we're limited to being able to do and stuff. So
Yeah, and the great point that Chai made in chat, and I know we're going to be talking about that here, it is even if you are disabled, you have the disability that's on the list, you qualify for like for example with ADHD you can qualify for like extra time on
yep,
exams
Mhm.
or quiet spaces
Mhm.
to do work and things like that. You have to decide whether it is worth it
worth it.
to say that you have this disability and get those accommodations, or if you think it's going to be a battle. And that's
Mhm.
totally effed up to say,
9
like,
out of 10 times, it's a battle
mhm,
too, because you will have professors who do not believe you are disabled, and they will
mhm,
instead try to walk all over you.
mhm,
And I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
Amber has probably experienced that. And maybe even Virtue, you've experienced that too here. I mean, everyone who's probably US based in chat and in this panel and has gone to college or even a 4-year university um has experienced that, and that's just, it's really disappointing. I actually had
mhm.
I'm one of those that didn't know what I wanted to do for a bit when
Yeah,
I
same.
started school, college. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do with the music. Let me just put it that way. So I had a career in college, 2-year college, and then university.
Mhm,
Um, but I had a back when I wanted to do music therapy, and I was going in ahead to getting the credits for that before I was going to transfer to a 4-year for that. Jokes on me, didn't do that, by the way. Um, one of the things they require you to do in music therapy, because it is a therapy, you are required to do anatomy. And I
mhm,
had
mhm,
one of my anatomy professors, my anatomy 2 professor, um, through such a stink over me needing extra time for the lab test that I think I ended up either dropping the course or failing it. And I got a
mhm,
professor who worked at MD Anderson here in Houston in the cancer research section, and he was the best amazing hands-on professor I ever had, and he had no issue with me ever doing that when I did that in the summer and stuff. It was great.
Mhm.
That was, I think, the only time I've had a science professor be that amazing about stuff, because he got it. He understood it all
Mhm.
and stuff.
Mhm.
So that was nice.
Can I realize I had a different. So like for me, since I was like diagnosed at OH, I actually went to public school when I
mhm,
was like in elementary school, and they were actually horrible with that. And so I don't remember much besides like what my mom has told me. But like she actually ended up pulling me out of the school like middle of fifth grade because I was just like refusing to do homework, just failing
mhm,
all my classes. So like, well, she's like next year. She's like middle school problem. They could like handle this. And so I had the early stage of I hate school. But the issue was when I was younger, like in kindergarten, I literally asked my mom, I was like, how long can I stay in school? How long can I educate, like learn?
mhm,
So like there was like she was like said, okay, that's something weird and all that. And so once she put me out and put me in a private school for half of a year, then I went to another private school because of the lawyer. She was successful, and so the school district ended up paying half of my tuition for private school. It should have been all of it, but we don't talk about that. Once I switched, I started to like grow confidence because I'm a very self-taught person. Like if you give me a chapter and like a topic and have like the set assignments, I will thrive. And
Mhm.
I found out like if how my education was. I ended up taking algebra 1 3 different times. First time was taught by myself with the textbook. Another was another teacher And then my high school was a charter based, so project based, which
Mm-hmm.
I found out that was the way to go because I hate tests. Tests and I do not agree. Once you give me a test, you'll tell me I'm gonna fail this class at that
I feel
point.
that. Yeah.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
think
so,
too. Oh, sorry, go
mhm.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't know how Holly can probably touch on this because I don't know how UK schooling is with public versus the private. I kind of know the gist of it, but not fully. I learned this from my therapist is that um we we discussed this because she was helping me deal with the disability office stuff because the way schooling here is worked out, especially in universities,
Mhm.
it's almost better if you're disabled to go to a public school versus a private school. Private schools, especially university wise, can get away with any and everything. It's harder to have to go to court with them because of them getting um their money basically from donors. Public schools get their funding from taxes and the government.
Mhm.
So it's easier if you have an issue to report them because they can get their government funds taken away from them very easily versus the private schools.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Um,
think Dee Dee's just touched on it. So I'm not a mom, and I've not been at school for a long time. But yeah, Dee Dee's just mentioned that public schools are a lot more regulated. So like, yeah, like you
mhm,
said, that's exactly it. Like if someone isn't doing what they should, um, they can get their funding taken away. But on the other side, the funding might not be there in the first place. So I can recall when I was in primary school. Primary school in the UK, for me in my area, was the age of 4 to 11.
Mhm.
Those sorts of ages, and we had I don't know where, I can't remember. I don't know all the information because I was only a child at the time. But I remember they about 5 or 6 hard of hearing children were brought into the school, and I feel like, and this is completely incorrect to say this way, was for them to learn to communicate with us. But then there was a teacher in the school who was lovely, and he was like, "No, this school needs to learn how to communicate with them." And they created a whole hard of hearing unit for these children who had their own area where they could decompress. But then actually, the teacher took it upon himself to learn British Sign Language and held classes for every school group to learn. That was amazing, and I still do a little bit of BSL, and it does help me in when I'm public facing people. But I do remember as I got older in that school, that funding was taken away and that unit got taken away, and the children were moved out of the school and they must have gone to somewhere else where they were more accessible. I think I don't know why. I think probably the funding changed, governments changed where they
mhm.
want to push the money into, as we all know. So I think that was part of it. But yeah, I think that's like you said, to touch back to your point. Yeah, public schools are definitely more regulated. Um, and I think probably goes back to a little bit of whether the teachers believe the parents that the child needs support, whether the parents still believe that the child wants support, because there's still that stereotype. I think even now, for people my age who have children, my child's got nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with my child, especially of like invisible
Mhm.
Mhm.
disabilities. So I think there's
Mhm.
still a lot more education to go onto that. But I'm really proud to see my close family and friends advocate for children that need extra support and go
Mhm.
after the
Mhm.
funding that they need. There's a community member, she's not here tonight, but her children are both autistic, and she's worked in, it's SEN. I don't know if you know what that is over in the US, but it's a
Oh, I've heard
special
of it. Yeah.
education. Yeah,
Mhm.
and she's worked in that field, and she really, really pushed for the funding for her child's school to have special areas for the children to go to decompress, to have sensory areas, because none of it existed, but there was clearly multiple children that needed it in the area. But like it had to come from a parent to advocate for it, who studied to go into the area to advocate it. Like that blows my mind how much like she pushed for it. So yeah, I think there's still a lot more education to go is in terms of that. But like you said, yeah, private school, I think if people are paying for it, they can just afford to put their
Mhm.
children through private
Yeah.
diagnosis as well, which helps.
I actually
Yeah.
recently learned this off of someone's TikTok. I think I saved it too. I can share with y'all. Um, there, so she was like, I am autistic. I grew up going to Montessori first, and Montessori is a very interesting um concept because it is private school, but they kind of teach different.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as structured, I think. They readily will let you learn whatever you want, however you want. There's and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a school, I think it's over on the East Coast. Because she said her parents pulled her out and put her to public school, and she said it was so horrible because she she was used to learning whatever she wanted to learn, however the way she wanted to learn it. In public school, she just didn't understand the rules and stuff of public school. She didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
She hated it. And so she was doing some research and she found this school. I will say it's a pretty, I think it's like 12K a semester school where you you go to school as long as you were there for 5 hours a day, you didn't get party and stuff. And when she was talking about it, I was like, man, I wish I went to school like that because I would have loved learning them that way. Because I do love learning, but I love learning on my own instead of being forced to learn stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
I grew up being a reader. I hated having to do in pre-AP and AP courses the required summer reading. I hated it. I would put it off last minute because it wasn't what I
Right.
wanted to read. I think if I had gotten to read it without being forced to, I would have been fine. But it killed my joy of reading for the longest time. My mom actually had to go before my school board when I was in elementary because the librarians were trying to prevent me from reading stuff that was higher than what grade I was in at the time, and I was like in first grade, probably first or second, and I was wanting to read stuff like Lord of the Rings and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
that advanced of a reader because
Mm-hmm.
I just loved reading, and
Mm-hmm.
my uh they were just kinda, I think, more worried than anything that I wasn't going to understand the material even though
Mm-hmm.
I was. And I think if I had gone to a school just like I know I was reading Anne Rice in like 5th grade, Amber. So but that's because my mom was, especially if I had questions, she was the parent. She could teach me stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, I think if I had gone to this school as this girl was describing, where there wasn't really a structure, she could go to art 5 days a week if she wanted to and do whatever she wanted in it. I would have had so much more fun in school
Mm-hmm.
and had wanted to be able to just learn because I love learning on my own, and being able to figure things out on my own brings me so much joy versus sometimes the structure of how public school is, because I even struggled going into college, especially
Mm-hmm.
after I stopped being when I went to my 4-year program finally after doing community college, and I was doing like part-time school basically at this point, going from part-time to a full-time, and the struggle of that was just horrible and everything. Because like I love learning, I love reading, but the moment you have to give me rules to go by, I struggle with that because that's not
Yeah.
how I learn. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of, well, I'm not an educator and I might touch on this, but like in terms of teaching styles has changed, I think, a lot since I was younger. We start to learn about kinetics teaching and audio
Mm-hmm.
and versus visual, and we do talk about it a little bit at work. I'm a bit of an advocate to be like, let's look at it differently because it's not
Mm-hmm.
going in. Like there's people that
Mm-hmm.
I work in retail, so I work with buyers who are obsessed with spreadsheets, but then I also work with really
Mm-hmm.
creative team who can't visualize stuff from spreadsheets. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to
Yeah, it's
I
difficult, right? Because most traditional school programs have, especially in the United States, I don't want to speak for anywhere else, have a very cut and dry set of instruction they have to do. So it is expected that at this grade you teach X, Y, and Z, and it's for everyone. And even with the No Child Left Behind program that was established in the 90s, which is a joke, by the way, um, it that became even more the case because it's like, well, we taught them this way and they didn't learn it, but we can't leave them behind, so we're just going to shove them through. And then they're pushing children and young adults who maybe aren't ready for new academics to like learning academics when they haven't grasped the base of that like the base of that subject. So like I, for example, am very bad at math.
Oh,
It is
same.
part as a part of my ADHD. I believe I have
Same.
dyscalculia.
I
Um,
do.
and so
Same.
even as a 37-year-old woman, I have to sometimes do multiplication and counting on my fingers, and I don't remember my times tables. I have to do this thing for left and right, which is all
Mhm.
part of having dyscalculia, or friends with dyslexia might understand as well, because that's often a part of
I
ADHD.
have both.
Yeah, geez. But those aren't good. That's not going to work. Giving a child with neurodivergence isn't necessarily going to be able to say, "Here's the times tables, memorize them." But
Mhm.
that's sort of the expectation in the United States. Is like we have to
Mhm.
do it the same way because classrooms are overloaded. There's too many children per teacher to actually get any sort of specialized care. The Even if you do have something like an IEP or an
Mhm.
individual education program or accommodations, um, early or excuse me, special education aides and teachers are in very like there's not very many. There's a shortage of those kind of like specialized teachers, um, and often even those aides that are supposed to be for accommodations or special needs are having to prepare accommodations for children with multiple types of disabilities. So,
Mhm.
children with extreme cognitive disabilities and maybe extreme mobile disabilities, and someone who has ADHD, and someone who has, on and
And
on,
multiple children
and
at the
multiple
same
children.
time.
Yeah. So, we have to accommodate, 4 or 5 special needs children, all with completely different IEPs, all
Mhm.
with completely different accommodation needs. It doesn't work.
We'll
It
also
doesn't work.
throw in too, and my friend who is here talking about the shortage too. In
Mhm.
Texas, especially, if I don't want to bring politics into this, but if you are a red state, it is especially
Mhm.
disgusting the pay for
Mhm.
teachers of that, but also because there's an overcrowding. And what they also do here is they don't even sometimes, I remember when I was in school, they were kind of doing away with having the special ed classes, and
Mhm.
they were putting those students within the regular courses, and those
Mhm.
Mhm.
teachers are not prepped or even
Mhm.
have the certification for that, and they don't even
No.
know what to do. And it was already an issue of overcrowding classrooms and everything, and they don't have the skills to understand
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
deal with that while they're already struggling to get the regular kids to understand stuff, you
Mhm.
know?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And
And that is something that was implemented with No Child Left Behind in a lot of places.
mhm.
Yep.
Um,
Raise your hand if you were a child of no child left behind.
I think I was. I don't remember.
so No Child
I had
Left
an
Behind
IEP,
was
so
this.
It was something our wonderful President George W. Bush put in place
Yeah,
because
with the
um
Department of Education
he
to in an attempt to ensure that all children are getting the education that they need. In theory, a very good cause, right? We want all of the
Mhm.
children to be able to get what they need. But like I said just a moment ago, really it is an excuse for um, uh, school systems to push children who are not ready for maybe the next grade or the next class
Mhm.
into
Mhm.
that. and to keep our graduation rates high. Because
Here, I found like an actual thing that goes into it. If you
Mhm.
want me to
yes,
to
yes.
the No Child Left Behind Act, NCLB, signed into law in 2002, which ends up it was a overhaul that was started in 2001 to overhaul the
Mhm.
Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. This was championed by George W. Bush to address the belief that the US education system was lagging globally, which is still happening, by the way. And this was to improve student performance through stricter accountability, mandatory annual standardizing tests from grades 3 to 8 and 10 through 12, and highly qualified teacher requirements. This was to have proficiency reach where it was globally by 2014. Let me tell you, they have redone in Texas the standardized testing 3 or 4 different times, by the
Mhm.
way.
It's even with neurotypical children, it's not a one size fits all.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can't I can't take my pair of shoes and give it to everybody and say, "Well, you have to make do because that's my standard shoe size or that's the standard shoe size in the US. So everybody has to wear a women's size 8 because that's all we're going to make." That's what the school system is. That's what the public school system is. And
Mhm.
I think that there is a lot of blame on the staff at schools
Yes.
for these kind of like downfalls of things that are happening, but their hands are tied. Their hands are tied.
Mhm.
They have to teach 35 children the same material, try to make sure they all understand. Having 35 different needs, it can't be done. It can't be done.
Oh,
And it's not the teacher's fault, it's not the aides' fault, it's not, to some degree, the principal's fault. um and that's where the blame gets put, is on the educators,
Yep.
when
Mhm.
really it goes way above that.
It goes so way above that.
Mhm.
Um, I was just looking at our little thingy, which I know we still have some time, but we have another topic to still talk on, and I know that could also get us yapping too. If Holly wants to go ahead, I know this has been a really good topic. We could all wait. We could probably
Mhm.
talk about this for hours.
honestly,
Mhm.
could.
Yeah.
We've got 45 minutes, like, still. We've got so much time. Um, so yeah, the next sort of part was safety, boundaries in community. So
Mhm.
interpret how you like. Ableist language that I realised I've spelt wrong on my little picture. Setting boundaries with Twitch tools, if you want to talk about that in terms of us as streamers or as
Mhm.
viewers and community. And then I know we had a question earlier that fits into this. We were
Mhm.
going to talk about challenging stereotypes as well.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we've already touched about a little bit on ADHD. So I won't go over that because I think we've really covered that properly. So yeah, has anybody else got anything that they would like to talk about? Or Amber, do you want to answer Chai's question?
Yes, so Chai asked a really great question. Chai asked about SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. It's a type of depression, and asked if that's
Mhm.
considered a disability. And for me, when someone asks me if I think that they're disabled, the first question I typically say is, "Do you think that you're disabled?"
Mhm.
I do that too.
Because I don't know how it feels to be in your body and how the things that affect your life prevent you from doing certain things. So that's always the first question, is do you think that you're disabled? And oftentimes we have friends who don't feel like they're disabled or don't feel like they're disabled enough to qualify for some of these things.
Me.
I've absolutely, Holly, I have I thought of you when I was thinking about this because it's something that I definitely had to learn to I've had to learn to accept. It's it's okay to be disabled, and it's okay to say that I am disabled.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um
It's part of that
and
grieving process that
yes,
we talked
Mhm.
exactly.
touched on earlier.
Yep.
I think part of
And
it,
so,
just to add, I think I'm still processing it. I think I've not given
mhm,
myself time to process it, and I think that's
yeah,
why I'm a bit of imposter syndrome with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the default that I go to when it comes to it is the thing that you're experiencing or I am experiencing a disability. The best source that I have found personally, and there may be equivalents of this in other countries, but the American with Disabilities Act's website has a lot of
Hmm.
really great information for folks in the US and internationally as well, um, on what like what disability is and what may qualify for disability. A lot of this is for legal reasons. Do you qualify for a disability care or disability payments or disability, accommodations? But I think that their definition of disability is really good. And
Mhm.
It
directly
is.
from directly from the American with Disability Act website, the ADA defines a person with a disability as a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activity. And so seasonal affective disorder, it is a sub subset of the depression diagnosis, can absolutely be a disability. Maybe not for everyone, but if it is
Hmm.
substantially limiting activities that you can perform in your day-to-day life, absolutely it's a disability.
Can I add? Because
Building.
I've just double checked what it was, but in the UK, it's very
Mhm,
similar. In the UK, it's under the Equality Act of 2010, which doesn't apply to Northern Ireland. But you're disabled under the Equality Act of 2010 if you have physical or mental impairment that has a substantial and long-term negative effect on your ability to do normal daily activities. So substantial is more than minor or trivial. For example, it takes much longer than it would usually to complete a daily task, like getting dressed, which for me, that is seasonal depression disorder for me. Or long term, which obviously means 12 months or more, for example, a breathing condition that develops a result of lung infection.
Building
Like,
off of
the people.
everything that has been said so far, I also personally heavily subscribe to the social model of disability, which, if
mhm,
people aren't aware of what that is, it is that part of being disabled is society's impact on being disabled. Like, for
mhm,
example, glasses and having vision bad enough to require glasses is an
mhm,
example of a disability, but no
It
one
is.
considers that a disability because it is so normalized in the world. And having
Hmm.
glasses does not prevent you from doing pretty much anything because society has adapted for glasses wearers. If we were to apply the same thing to other disabilities and apply the same kind of adaptations and normalize it to the same extent within society in terms of accessibility purposes, disability wouldn't have such a big impact on people because it would be so normalized. But if you feel that you were disabled enough that what you feel is disabling you is having that big of an impact on
mhm,
your day-to-day life, you
mhm.
probably qualify under some form of disability.
Yeah. Um,
I think too, to go on it, if I've never been one to shy away from what I go through because I can't. Oh, hold on. Sorry. My fries and Coke for my migraine are here.
Oh my goodness,
Yay.
let's go.
Yay!
um, but anyways, I've never been one to shy away from discussing it, as my friend in my chat, I'm gonna just call you 9 a.m. has said, because like it is helpful to discuss this and make it open, because if you hide it, I feel like it's doing disservice to you, but it's also doing a disservice to those who
Mhm,
might be noticing things and they're feeling like they're being gaslit by
mhm,
themselves or by others and stuff, as we talked about. So I'm very open about it. And, I've had people such as my friend and others in my chat, be like, thanks for being open about what you've been going through and stuff. Cause I'm seeing things in myself or in a loved one and
mhm,
stuff. And it's bringing like awareness to it and stuff. Um, because it's as easy as we've talked about. If
Mhm.
you're seeing something and you're asking us if you're disabled, if you're having to ask, you most likely the answer is yes. Honestly, as Amber said, look at the ADA Act, and over in the UK, look up their version of that as well too, and stuff, because basically you'll find it under there no matter what too, and use that as your guideline to go to your doctor and be like, hey, I have XYZ happening. Bring any way you can advocate for yourself will help
Mhm.
your case with your doctor getting referred out to specialists maybe and everything. It took me a couple years to be able to go to a rheumatologist, but that's because what was happening with me wasn't getting as serious as it has been getting in
Mhm.
my life and everything. So, I think being open about it is educational for those who are able-bodied, but also those who might be questioning things, maybe because of our how we are with our communities versus, you know, everyone who's been joining us in chat on this panel and stuff.
Mhm.
If us talking about this is making you have have light bulbs go off,
No.
yes, please reach out to your care, like your doctors and stuff, honestly.
Mhm.
um but we can't sit here and tell you you're disabled. Honestly,
Mhm.
to be real, we are not doctors. We just have our experiences that we've lived through
Mhm.
that we can use to inform you all and others and
Mhm.
everything. I think is the best way to go about summarizing that all.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, it is. As my friend said, it's nice to have people in your corner who will listen when you say, "Hey, I feel weird. Is this all in my head?" Because that's honestly
Mhm.
what they've been going through is how I started going through with one of my friends as well when they were talking about stuff. I'm be real, and that's when I was like, "Oh, huh."
Or if you're like commiserating with another person who has an undiagnosed disability that may be the same as yours, and they're like, no, that's not weird, I do that too. And so you're like, oh god, like, other people or do this, does that mean that something's wrong with me? And yes, but okay. It's
Yes.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I I guess too, since I already mentioned that I'm going through a migraine, I can talk on like my boundary stuff too, so
Mhm.
about things
Yeah.
too if we want. As I said, I have daily migraines. Um, as I said, if you're having a headache that's lasting more than a day or two, that is a migraine. When a person who maybe not experiences migraines gets them very rarely, that is my normal of a headache for me personally. Could be different for others, but for me, that's my normal of where I start out with, and then it hits like the symptoms you can get sometimes because of your migraines and everything. So one thing I do with my boundaries and stuff is when I'm open to everyone, I don't lie, honestly, to my
Mhm.
community about what's going on. They know usually what to expect when maybe I'm having a really bad flare up. Like when I go get steroid injections for my pain,
Mhm.
I take that day off from streaming or even
Mhm.
working on content because I need time to recuperate. Um and everything versus the days where I don't have that, I'm able to do stuff. I'm very clear on my boundaries on my ability to do stuff, Viva spoons. But also it's like I have to be honest with myself and I'm not doing my best. I'm not doing my best. I'm not gonna create I can't lie because that's not who I am. That's not being true to myself, basically. So I'm very open with my community and even my friends and family about stuff, honestly. Um, and you know, as I've discovered, I need to fix my captions, but I do things to make it easier for people who come into my streams who are disabled, such as hard as hearing, or, making sure when I'm making my content, color stuff is working. Especially, as I said, I'm getting into creating bookish content. And so I am very conscious of what text I use on my post on Instagram, especially and TikTok that is readable and easy for people. I also like using alt text on the platforms that allow alt text. Not all platforms allow alt text for images. Like I don't think TikTok does. Um,
But Blue Sky does. Blue Sky's good for that.
Blue Sky does, yeah.
Guys.
And I don't think Instagram does either, which who knows, maybe that's something people could start pinging them on stuff, but I don't really expect to see TikTok to change and Meta to change honestly on that kind of front. Um but you know, just kind of being able to be real, and that's just how I've been personally as a streamer, is I've never been able to hide behind a persona, if you want to call it that. I've been very open about so much of my stuff, but I also do keep things that I want to keep private behind closed doors, and that's something I do. I wouldn't be surprised if all of us here in this panel, if you're a female at birth especially, you have people who ask you your age, or if you're single, or if you're dating and stuff, and blah blah blah. There are hard stops I have on stuff. I don't put up with a lot of BS, honestly. um so but for the most part, I'm pretty open about things. And if I find I need to change things, I do it. I say, hey, to my community, I'm implementing this change. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. We'll figure out another solution and stuff. So I'm gonna mute so I can eat my fries.
Yes. Um, I know one boundary that I have had to set um, for multiple of the things that affect me is um, to ask if you can DM me instead of just DMing randomly. And there are exceptions to this. People who I'm close with, or people like in the guild and stuff like that is okay. But I've asked my community members, if you want to have just casual conversation with me, please hold that in the Discord.
I want to
Yeah.
chime in real quick here. I'm like that too. I forgot to add that. I've actually have told people the same thing. I'm redoing it, but I have ticket tool. Basically, people
Yes.
need to come to me
Yep.
Yeah.
or my mods about anything. Please don't DM us.
Mhm.
Send it through the ticket tool, because maybe they don't
Mhm.
have the spoons that day either, or I don't.
Mhm.
It also
Mhm.
keeps the weirdo creeps out of my
Yes.
DMs too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unsolicited random DMs, especially from people you don't know, is very anxiety inducing.
Mhm.
For someone who has a complex PTSD, you don't know if anything that's going to happen that would maybe trigger your PTSD is going to be in that message. So you are on guard. Um, you also, if you're a person with ADHD, we often experience rejection sensitive dysphoria. So
Mhm.
even if it is just a casual conversation or casual check-in, we can feel really, really anxious about unsolicited messages, or also really, really guilty, really, really guilty if we are trying to take a break and don't answer those messages. This is something I spoke with my therapist about, how people with ADHD, as technology has advanced, struggle more with
Mhm.
disconnecting and sort of getting over this like rejection sensitivity, because you are always available. Technically, I mean, I have
Mhm.
a cell phone. We all have, some sort of device that keeps us constantly connected to other people, which is amazing and also
Mhm.
horrible.
Yeah.
And so, with exceptions, I've asked my community for casual conversations to happen in Discord. I'm happy to tell you how my day is with everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just can I just touch on RSD, because it's something that I
Absolutely.
think I'm still kind of navigating it sometimes in how I respond to it and noticing what it is, because it's kind of new to realizing for me what it is. I'll give an example in the stream world for me, not as a streamer, as a community member of somewhere.
Mhm.
And this person, I adore this person. I'm not going to name them, but because they'd be mortified if they knew I felt this way. Um, because I don't always pick up on facial expressions because I'm
Mhm.
autistic, I misinterpret meaning quite a lot as
Mhm.
well. And I was in a community and I was in a space and I said something that I thought was helpful. And I think
Mhm.
it was, and I still think it was. But I read the streamer's face, what I thought would be the time that they would read my message. And they didn't read my message out when they
Mm.
normally would have, but they had a little frown on their face. And I thought, they're falling out with me. They don't like me anymore. Why did I think that? There's no
Mhm.
reason. There was absolutely no
Mhm.
reason for it. So not only did I have like an anxiety, social like trauma, but I also had the rejection sensitivity that they didn't like my help. So I left the
Mhm.
community for the weekend because I was like, I just can't be there because I was so upset about it. And I messaged Dee Dee about it, who's one of my mods and my really good friends. And she was like, no, it's fine. Like, you can feel that way, but I'm sure that wasn't the case. But no matter
Mhm.
how many times somebody tells me that isn't the case, it
Mhm.
has to be me that realizes that's your rejection sensitivity dysphoria. That
Mhm.
person would tell you if there was something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Mhm.
You have to trust other people. Like, you just have to
Mhm.
trust because this has definitely happened where I've reached out to people like, "Hey, are we good?" And they're like, "Yeah." You have to trust that that person is telling you the truth.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it can be really difficult. It can be really difficult,
Hmm.
but you're exactly right, Holly. It has to be like, that person would tell me if something was wrong, and I have to believe them when they say that everything is okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm like that too, where I've had to like double check with friends that, hey, like, is everything okay? Because like I feel like I've said something wrong, or maybe like the vibes fell off. Usually, I
Mhm.
guess, is sometimes how I feel. And I've had to really train myself out of those thoughts because as my friend said, it's RSC is really like a mean troll in your and it's hard to unlearn a habit because of your disabilities, honestly.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is very hard to unlearn something.
Mhm.
And I worked with I always joke that I'm probably the worst patient to have as a therapist because I'm very self-aware of how
Yes.
my
Oh my
Mhm.
stuff
god.
is.
Yeah,
But
me.
that's not true because there are just some therapists who don't know, they don't have the skills to deal with someone who is self-aware with
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
I don't want to say downfalls. What's another good word to use?
Opportunities, that's what they call it
Yeah,
in, like, corporate world, right? Like, your
yeah.
Yeah.
your strengths and your
Um,
opportunities.
Yeah.
you know, so I'm very self-aware of my stuff, and it's the steps I have to take to work on that and to
Mhm.
reverse things, or not fix but unlearn, or
Mhm.
Mhm.
homework as my therapist used to give me and stuff.
Mhm.
Because it is very hard to unlearn things that your brain has taught you. Because
Mhm.
fun fact, the reason why I have chronic migraines, I learned this from a neurologist recently, is your brain gets them and starts to like them. So your brain might,
Oh.
some of this stuff might be, it's
That makes
it's trained
sense.
itself to like it or something, maybe too.
Mhm.
Your brain
And
Pavloved itself into having
Mhm.
migraines. What?
yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
it like
So
because pain like and happy chemicals? I don't like.
yeah,
I
it
think
has to
it's
deal with
something like that.
chemical stuff and
Mhm.
everything. So that's made me go really be like, oh, I wonder if it's that way with like my RSC and my anxiety and my negative
Mhm.
self-talk kind of, then is that similar? Because that'd be very
Mhm.
interesting to see if it is, honestly,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Um, somebody, I know it's been brought up a few times in chat, but I wanna bring up another saying. So, um, somebody mentioned, like, "Can we talk?" Or, "Hey, we need to talk," as an
Mm.
inducing, right? It's
Mhm.
for those of us with, like,
Mhm.
mental health disorders and,
Mhm.
neurodivergent disorders, it's really difficult. But another thing that really bothers me that people say is, "You know what you did." When someone is
Oh,
upset with
yes.
you or you have done something
Mhm.
wrong, you know what you did is awful, because I have been in situations where I was in the wrong, but I don't know what I did. I truly don't. It's not like I stabbed someone. Like, obviously, if I
Mhm.
stab someone, that's going to be, I know what I did. But when you
Yeah.
misspeak or you struggle with processing, like you have processing disorders,
Mhm.
it's really difficult sometimes to get the words that you're saying or what you're thinking across in a way that's understandable for everyone. And
Yeah,
so,
100%.
yeah, you know what you did is horrible. Um,
Mhm.
I
and
also
conflict resolution just in general.
also too, to go in with that, like there's controversial people, and I'm
Mhm.
one of those that, like, you can tell me that, but I need to understand why. You can't just tell me.
Yes.
So I look into it. Like, for example, in the bookish world, Sarah J. Maas is a very
Mhm.
controversial person. Do I read the books? Yes, but that's so I can understand what people are talking about, so I have
Mhm.
context to what people are saying.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that's to help me process
Mhm.
things and understand it more so than I'm just wanting to read her because she's controversial. I'm needing to understand why through her
Mhm.
text to understand and stuff. I think there's a very stark difference between just wanting to be like, oh, you're just a hater. I'm gonna read her because I like her versus
Mhm.
the whole with those who are, with autistic or ADHD or even just like I'm forgetting the term. Amber might know it better than me because my brain is like off salt right now. um
Nope, my brain's
but just
empty. Sorry.
I know. But it's like, just being able to understand through my looking in at stuff
Mhm.
versus how other people who are, I guess we'll use the term able body or able brain. My
Neurotypical.
Yeah, neurotypical. Yes, that's the word. Thank you. Would go about it versus me, who is not neurotypical, and I need
Mhm.
more context to understand something more so than someone would need who is neurotypical.
Mhm.
And I think something I've sort of, I don't know, it's sort of like I've learned, but I know it's not always the case, but 9 out of 10 times it is the way that they react is not how you can control, and it is
Mhm.
more about them than it is about you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, for example, someone says, "I know you know what you did." I've kind of been in that example where potentially I didn't know someone's pronouns, and I used the
Mhm.
wrong pronouns for them, and they might have said that to
Mhm.
me, but it's because they've got so much trauma from
Mhm.
working out what their gender is, or whether they have a gender, they're non-binary, that obviously then they've just reflected that back on me, and
Mhm.
that's when I've gone, okay, they are angry at me for doing it wrong or saying it wrong, but it's sort of that
Mhm.
learning experience for me that's like, okay, let's break it down. For me, not to them, but to me, it's like, what's going on here? They're not the type of person
Mhm.
to just flip a
Mhm.
lid at me. If somebody is
Mhm.
malicious and they just want to wind me up, then I think most of the times I can notice that.
Yeah, and that is a great sort of segue into talking about PTSD too,
Mhm.
right? Because um, so for those of us who have PTSD, um, one of the things that can happen if we are not regulated or we don't have the tools to like prevent this is emotional outbursts. That can be anger, it could be sadness, it could manifest in a lot of different ways, but a lot of times and like sort of stereotypically you see it as like anger, and it's not okay because while it may be a reason that you act that way, it's not an excuse, but such a good reminder, Holly, to think about the deeper what's going on, because that person has clearly had some response in the past that has caused them to react that way.
Yeah.
And people with PTSD are often some of the like typical some of like the typical traits of someone with PTSD um is being constantly alert even in situations where you're safe. Um having emotional outbursts, um having um negative self thoughts, and like negative thoughts in general, maybe during times that don't necessarily make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then intrusive thoughts and intrusive
Mm-hmm.
memories. So these things can often manifest in ways that are like uh maybe you misspeak, or
Mm-hmm.
you react poorly because
Mm-hmm.
um, of something that's happened. Um, and it's difficult to, sorry, my brain's losing its thought process, so I'm trying
No,
trying to
I get what you
Oh.
mean, because I have that, but also, as I said, I'm bipolar, so mine tie in together. So I get it 100%, because like, and it's something I've had to work on unlearning, and it's unlearning the habits you have built through trauma is very, very hard. Um, and it takes a lot of work.
Mhm.
And that might not be the same for everyone, but for me, very, very hard. And I'm still working on it, in all honesty, you
Mhm.
know. But there are times where I just have these, to give an example, like sometimes I feel like people are yelling at me, but they're not really yelling, so I react
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
like I'm being talked down onto or something,
Yep.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much like afterwards, after I've had my reaction, I sit there
Mhm.
and I'm kind of like, oh, why did I do that? And I feel really bad,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, and
And no,
PTSD
go ahead.
too. People with PTSD too
Mm-hmm.
tend to be much more in tune with other people's emotions because they have
Mm-hmm.
gone through an experience or multiple experiences where other people's emotions or other people's reactions um, have caused negativity to them. So you try to kind of get ahead by reading other people's emotions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and God, the like like the way that all of these things interlink,
The code switching.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it's so difficult. It's so difficult. And sometimes you don't know what's going to trigger you until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So with like the first part was like the ADHD, like when people have like certain tones, your brain might want to fight. I have this with my mom. Well, like my tone would be like the most like this kind of tone, like nothing indicating like I'm fighting her, nothing like disrespectful. But once she thinks I'm disrespectful, even if my tone doesn't change, she will like start yelling at me because of it. I'm like, I'm not, and I would like walk away. Or like I know people were talking about like, can we talk? I mentioned like in chat of like I would say, can we talk? But like explain like, hey, I want to talk about this and whatnot. And I'm giving you the opportunity to know what I want to talk about so you could emotionally and mentally prepare. Just so we could like come in to the space of like quiet, calmness, and whatnot. Or I would have like these like moments of like stress and I'm like really am like annoyed. This actually happened yesterday. I don't know if the person in chat is listening, but I like apart two people I actually like snapped at, in my head, I felt like it was like this huge thing, and to them, they're like, no, it was small. We understand. And one of them like pushed me to have like my me time because they know I needed that. And so I ended up realizing like that's another thing that I'm feel like a boundary is like sometimes you don't know, but someone else will know and then gently tell you what's up. That's a not good thing. And I'm also thinking about the boundary of like with general chat and all that. Oh, there's one. I see them. Um, I would say for like conversations, keep it in like my server or like if someone wants like to game with certain people, I'm like, hey, I've been in this VC and I'm gonna like invite someone I personally feel comfortable with. Oh, one of my mods is here. It's making me think of a boundary. Well, I would have like on my status of like sorry priors or do not disturb, just because I'm like, if you disrespect that, that's on you. And people will wait for me to message first because of it. So, it was like a lot I wanted to say, but couldn't speak.
I was
I just want to
talking
touch.
and
Sorry.
my mic was
Oh.
off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like,
I
are you
was
not gonna say? I thought you were just going. I thought you were like,
I was a
yeah.
little bit, but yeah, I just was to say, yeah, a reminder, just it's very difficult to set boundaries. And if someone has set a boundary with you, don't break it, don't push it, accept it
100%.
and accept that it's not about you, it's about that
Mhm.
person's needs and safety, and be respectful of people setting their boundaries. It's not to be harmful, it's to help the person who's setting them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just to tap onto what Pixie said. So she said, I've had to work really hard with my supervisor at work so that when she sends a meeting invite, she also sends an email and says, we are going to discuss XYZ so that I don't spiral. Actually, in the company that I work for, I'm not going to name it because I'll dox myself, is one of the sort of flexible working
Mhm.
variables, I guess, that they put into the community, company even, was to have an agenda. Everyone has to have an agenda, and and it was literally written. It says if there's no agenda in the meeting, you don't have to attend. And I work for a big corporate company, so that was really
Mhm.
amazing that they wrote that. They probably didn't have neurodivergence or anything like that in mind, but actually, it really did help. So that's an amazing point that if anybody ever wants to speak to you, I think it's very valid to be like, well, why? or or if you're going to ask somebody to speak with you, you sort of give them a reason why. If it's corporate, give an agenda. If it's more social, explain why. I've got a friend who I treasure very deeply, and I know if I said, "Do you want to hang out?" They'd be like, "Why? What's wrong? What have I done?" I'd have to be like, "Would you like to hang out to play some games tonight, this day? And let's just play some games. I want to explore it with you." I'd need to sort of express a little bit more
Mhm.
to why.
Mhm.
And I
And also,
even, well, Amber and I sharing the run brain cell again.
just being empowered to ask, hey, what's up? Or one thing I ask at work a lot too is, do I need to prepare anything for this meeting? That way, that gives them an open invitation to be like, no, it's just about XYZ, without being like, John, my boss's name is John. John, why the hell are you set up a meeting with me one on one?
I think
I'm
also too, um, because of how I am, I over explain. And I'm probably sure we all find that we do that. But this is something too, like, to give some context on before I even started streaming, I've been over the past like 7, 8 years, I've been managing various different communities. And we're talking like up to 7,000 people in these communities on Discord and stuff. And this was something that I had to learn to do, was to make an agenda, be like, hey everyone, this is what we want to talk about. Is there anything else you would like to add to it? So that way we're making sure we're hitting everyone's thoughts on stuff or on topics they would like to discuss. And that way we're all on the same page, basically. and that way maybe you can already start formulating before this staff meeting happens, basically. And so that way it makes people not get blindsided. And occasionally we sure have had the, oh, like I just thought of this during it, but that happens and stuff. And it's usually an easy thing to like add in and discuss and stuff. So
Yeah, all those times that you are in the shower after you've had a conversation with somebody, you're like, oh, I should have said this. You can do that ahead of time. Did you know?
Yeah. I think time management, though, I struggle with. I really struggle with that.
Mm.
And that's part of being like a neurodivergent person.
yeah,
I've just
I wish
mentioned it in
there were
chat,
more
but
than 24 hours.
oh yeah, I
Sorry.
wish there was. I wish there was more time in the week. I feel like I don't have enough time to play all the games I want to play, or the people I want to talk to. Everybody who's
Yeah.
in America who I don't get to talk to because I'm asleep when they're awake, and vice versa.
It's okay. For the most
Who-
part, I have a UK sleep schedule for the most part. I'm gonna be
I
honest.
feel I've got like an Eastern sleep schedule. I go to sleep at like 2 a.m. But yeah, as I've mentioned in chat, we've got sort of 5 to 10 minutes left of the panel. So I just wanted to say, if anybody has anything else they'd like to add, either in the panel or in our communities, anything you want to share that you've learned, anything else you think we should talk about or could talk about, or any questions you have, just bear in mind, obviously, we're not medical experts, but we can share on our experiences as well. Respect to boundaries is a strong thing for me, as I've unfortunately experienced them being breached. I came across was that some people set a boundary and want it crossed. And I don't understand that and why. There's always going to be people that push the boundaries, I think, and especially on the internet, there's always going to be people that test it. I've definitely felt that in all sorts of instances, from being a woman, for having women, men come to me in awful messages. But then also there's people that then potentially push, like we were talking earlier, with like those DMs and stuff, which is why I've now put the ticket tool in my Discord. Um, and yeah, sort of, and also maybe with like friends or people that are acquaintances as well. So I think that's that. Sorry, but did you have something to add?
Oh no, when you're done, I want to add on to
Um,
it.
Oh, of course, no worries. So I've actually, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a women's mentor guild in the women's Twitch guild mentor, not just a women mentor. I could be, but maybe it's a bit of a hard feat for the whole globe. But I've had to turn off my DMs, and I absolutely adore the guildies and everybody in the guild. But I've had to switch them off because I was getting a lot of DMs from guildies that could have asked questions in the Discord or could have raised tickets with the leaders, and that's one of my boundaries. And there is a few people that who I wouldn't say slipped through the net because we were maybe acquaintances before, but then would ask me questions, and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't really feel like I'm asking this, but I feel like I had to answer. So I think that's something I just wanted to mention. I bet she.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I know there's a lot of creators out there too. Like, they don't understand um collabing with creators with disabilities.
Hmm.
And I think that's very important to ask people what their boundaries are and stuff, because I have been in situations where I've done collabs, and something with me with because my hearing is so bad, I have to concentrate so much and I get overstimulated really easily. So when we're doing stuff like, let's say there's three of us in a voice call and we're also playing games and we're all streaming, one of my boundaries is like people need to either use push to talk or mute themselves when they're not like, because if there's just too much chatter going around, I I shut down. I can't do anything. And I've even had my mods before where they will they'll pin a message and just say like, Bochi's feeling overstimulated. um she may not answer you right now because she's focusing and trying to do her thing, and people will get like, they'll be like, my community is understanding because they know me. But I have one mod who he'll just see it in my face and I just like gloss over, and he'll put that little pinned message. So definitely, if you're not disabled, ask your disabled friends like what their boundaries are. If you are disabled, make sure you voice them too. It's very
Yeah,
important.
I have one
that's
thing to
really
add, and
thank you for
then
sharing.
I was gonna speak out one of the questions someone asked. I'm pretty sure most people in my community have noticed when I just disassociate on stream, honestly, when I get overstimulated during collabs.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
I need to do it still for the collab Discord is
Mhm.
put that in. And maybe I need to put in like, please, like, for those who are, disabled, this is going to be helpful for us. So thank you for that. Or Birchie DM me that so I can remember it, please. Because I will forget it.
Yes, will
One of the
do.
questions someone asked was anytime someone may be branching out to others with a similar diagnosis so it may be easier for them to understand. I have always been a Reddit type of girly. I'm going to be honest. That's usually Reddit's where I go to for a lot of my, maybe someone's already talked about this and I might find info on it and stuff, kind of thing. And so I will say don't believe everything you find on the internet though, of course. You just got to kind of preface that. But usually on Reddit, you have already established communities that, have a lot of resources out there. Like when everything first started with me for my chronic pain, I was looking up in the chronic pain subreddit to see if anyone was having the same stuff I was having with their fingers twitching, basically. And of course, you're going to get, if you act like Google's your doctor, you're going to get the weirdest things, probably, honestly, for different
Mhm.
diagnoses and stuff. And that will make you probably spiral and think you're dying and stuff. Take it from me, because that's what happened with me. But honestly, as someone said, Reddit and Facebook groups are really, really good places to start with because most of those communities are really already established and will probably have a ton of resources for you to be able to use to bring to your doctor.
When I got my autism diagnosis, and I don't know if it was because I had, so with the shared care, you basically have a private provider, and then you get passed back to the NHS. So the private provider actually gave me a list of local to me communities and forums that I can connect with of people that are also autistic, and maybe a little bit of that sort of grieving part of it, and the trauma part of it as well. Gave me all sorts of resource that way as well. So I think if you get a diagnosis, one of the things you could ask potentially, I don't know if this whether the US friends would agree, is, well, what networks is there out for me to connect with, and do you have any suggestions? Because sometimes doctors do know people that would be useful to just maybe speak to, or at least forums to start getting involved with as well.
Especially if there's a national organization for
Hmm.
your diagnosis, start there. It's a great place.
Yeah, like for example, lupus.
Hmm.
We all know where to go for if you have been diagnosed with lupus and where to go to.
Um, speaking of diagnosis, one thing that I just want to say, and I'm sorry, it's going to sound a little bit depressing, but all of us that have a disability, whether we're neurodivergent or a chronic illness, we're not going to be cured anytime in our lifetime. It's just how it is. And one of the best pieces of advice that I ever heard was don't ask or don't tell someone that you hope they feel better soon,
Mm.
because that's not going to
Yes.
happen. It's not. It's just not going to happen, not in our lifetime. Finding an alternative way to be supportive for someone when they're not feeling well, or they're having a flare up, or they're having a particularly bad day with their disability, is to find different ways to support. So instead of saying something like, I hope you feel better, which is kind of has no substance to it anyway, um, ask something like, how
Hmm.
can I support you right now?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
something along those lines, that you acknowledge that this is not their norm and they may need some different kind of care, but they're never going to be 100%.
No.
Mhm.
And so just being really cognizant of sometimes even the things that you say, um, and finding genuine ways to be supportive.
Yeah, like one of the things
Yeah.
I like to say to my friends who I know is like, "Oh, I hope you're having a good day." If like
Mm.
their day yesterday was like
Mhm.
bad, and that way I can like try to bring some sunshine back in and stuff. And that's, of course, if I have the ability and the spoons to do that, you know. But because it is true, like we're never going to have a cure in our lifetime. If we do, we're gonna be like 90 years old probably by the time it happens. Be honest. It would be really great to have something that would, like, we could wake up tomorrow and maybe and bam, there's a cure for lupus. But honestly, there's not, you know. So it's not just, and that's part of the grieving process, honestly, too. Let's to go on to that and everything. Um, does anyone else have any other questions? Because I think what we can maybe do 5 more minutes,
Yeah,
probably,
I think so.
and then
Thank you to of my community that messaged things. I feel like I haven't read them properly. I
I know
appreciate
there's
you
just a
all
bunch.
first. I appreciate you all first time listening in, and this was very helpful and beneficial. Thank you, Mads. And then Creative Pixie said, Holly and all, thank you for being vulnerable and willing to have the discussion. It's very important. It is. That is.
Mhm.
And Mr. said, I just want to say how much I appreciate y'all sharing these experiences and discussions, of course. Thank you. We're very, very grateful. So we don't know how this sort of came about. So we're all in the Twitch Women's Guild, and it was an event that was put together by our guild specialist, Watch Holly, if you don't know them. And we all put our names forward basically to be on a panel to moderate or do all sorts of things. There's people that create the graphics that you can see. There's people that create the program, people that create the copy, and it was sort of in the last 2 weeks. So it was very felt very last minute, but actually I'm so glad that we did it and it sort of
Mhm.
came together. But no, we
Mhm.
don't normally do it. But I've seen a few people in the guild that said, "Can we do it again?" Because I think
I
it
know.
was
I think
really
this would
excellent.
be really fun to do and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Another thing I want us to do before we read out is us talk about when the chats might be able to watch us next on our own,
Oh
like,
yeah.
individual kind of stuff and
Mhm.
everything.
Oh yeah. That's good. I usually stream every Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday, depending when I'm in the office, because I can't do an office and then a stream day, and a Friday. So I'm streaming next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Friday night, I'm doing a spooky game, which I don't normally do. I'm a cozy creator, but my community unlocked it from a charity event a few weeks ago. And then on a Sunday evening, so that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. UK time. So currently at the moment, I'm 4 hours ahead of Eastern and 6 hours, no, 4 hours ahead of Eastern, 5 hours ahead of Central, and 7 hours ahead of Pacific. But next Sunday, I'm going to have a very vanilla stream because I'm actually streaming from DreamHack UK. I was accepted as one of the first waves of the DreamHack UK creators. So I'm joining my stream team, Mellow Moon, to play Ultimate Chicken Horse, which I've never played before. So we're playing that on stream next Sunday at 5 p.m. UK time.
It's a fun game. I think
I
you'll
don't
have
even know what it's
fun.
about.
It's very silly. I love it.
Who's next wants to share their schedule and what they're doing this
Sure,
next
I'll
week?
go next since it's kind of been Holly me and then I popcorn to someone. um, like I said, I took 5 months off just for my physical and mental health. I needed to. My body, when we came back from TwitchCon, my body said enough was enough and forced stopped me from doing everything. So I kind of don't really fully have a fleshed out schedule like I used to, but I know next week I'm planning to be live Tuesday, Thursday, and then probably Saturday and stuff. But I did my socials and Discord stuff, so that's always a place to be at. And soon I'll be having a working website that I'll just link
Ooh.
to, which will be cool. But also on I post bookish content now, mainly on Threads and Instagram. So if you love books, I would definitely say follow me there as well. I'm going to popcorn
Sorry,
to Aaron.
Margaret, can you post the
All right.
links in your
Oh, did
chat?
it?
Because I can't actually see them. No, I can't see your links. Because I can only see your command. I can't see your bot response.
Oh
I think it's
no.
because we're on shared.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see them either.
okay.
Boo.
Let me do that. We've
Oh yeah,
learned
perfect.
something. We've learned something.
Is mine
And
there?
then
Because
there's
I
my
did post
Discord.
mine as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing yours.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know
Maybe
why
it's my
mine's
There's
not
physical
doing
I
that.
see
screen.
Dolly Bot.
Mm.
Oh, let's mix it up for you. Right, sorry,
Learned
Erin.
something new.
All right. I will be live later tonight, actually. I go live pretty randomly depending on my work schedule. So following me on Twitch and turning on notifications is definitely the best way to see when I'm live because I don't have a set schedule. And tonight I will be playing some horror games, some spooky demos, which I don't typically play. I'm a total scaredy cat, so that will definitely be an adventure. And I will pop it over to Amber.
I typically stream on Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Um, that is pretty consistent unless I'm not feeling very well, which I will typically post in Discord if I am not up to streaming that day. Otherwise, you can find me on the internet just about everywhere at analog_amber, sometimes without the underscore. A big project coming up. I mentioned at the beginning of stream. My next charity fundraiser is for the Lupus Foundation of America, with Game On to End Lupus. That was developed with the help of our friend Coco Confessions, the former guild leader of the Women's Guild. Important to fund lupus research because research for any sort of autoimmune diseases, research for all of them, plus women and particularly women of color are especially prone to having lupus. So if you want to, I'll tell you what I tell my jet. If you like women, then you'll support GoTel. And then I'm very sorry I'm having the ADHD shutdown moment. Whomever has not gone.
That
Wait,
would be me.
someone asked a question about what lupus is. Can you explain that, Amber?
Lupus is an autoimmune disease that affects your internal organs, such as your kidneys. It can also affect like your skin. And basically, it doesn't allow your immune system and your organs to work the way that they're intended to. Lupus is not curable and is very difficult to diagnose. The typical diagnosis length of lupus is 5 to 7 years, because it has the same symptoms as many other has the same symptoms of many other sort of autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. So it's very difficult to diagnose. It's primarily diagnosed in women and especially affects women of color. So essentially, our friends that have lupus have bodies that are destroying itself from the inside. It can cause um, stereotypically a rash on your face that looks like a butterfly. But it can also lead to your organs shutting down. It can lead to neurological side effects. And it can unfortunately cause early death in some of our favorite people in the world. So, like I said, a a funding for research for any autoimmune disease is funding for all autoimmune diseases since they are so alike. So I'm getting really emotional, so I'm going to stop talking about it. But please consider the first weekend of May visiting all of our friends who are supporting the Lupus Foundation of America. I heard that we're going to be fundraising with a coloring book that someone that's on this panel may have submitted some art for. So keep an eye out for that.
That's cool. I guess I'll go next. I will be streaming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and I will be playing some Resident Evil 9 on Monday, and yeah, screaming my face off. So if you like loud horror, that's where I'll be.
I'll be asleep. but have a lovely time.
I guess I'm
Who's not been?
last.
Yeah, Ellie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I do have potential streams on Tuesdays, Thursdays, depending if I have the energy / if I cancel the other ones. And I don't know what I'm going to stream. I know one of them would be Till stream because I've been trying to actually explore that, and I know people onto that. Oh, my mod is like, I got you with my socials. She was ready.
I'll be playing Pokopia mostly, I think, next week because I'm still obsessed with it after however many weeks it's been out.
I
Is
can't wait to
everybody
play it
in?
later.
Is everybody
I
in?
think we've all gone.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
we're all going to take you to another panel. I think most of it. I think it's the mental health panel is still going on for the next 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So we're all going to go to different people. So we're just going to disperse like
Yep.
water in the sky. But thank you so much for spending time with us. Thank you to my fellow guildies for spending time with me and each other and being so kind to each other and allowing everybody to have space. That's really, really important. So thank you. I have created another raid message if anybody would like to use it, but no pressure.
Oh yes.
There's that one
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
Perfect. Right, I'm going to switch my ending screen. Anybody in my community, you can grab your bye-byes. We like to collect them at the end of every stream. But thank you so much to Birchie, Amber, Ellie, Marjorie, and Erin for being here. It's so lovely to
And
spend
Holly.
time with you.
And Holly.
And Holly.
And Holly.
Right, I'll see you all soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.